before we start as well, I'm going to just say, can we zoom in so you can actually all see this? This is in our Discord. I think most of you are in there, if not. I just saying I'm going to try and start streams a bit earlier from now on, because I always say we start at 2 p.m, but I tend to be more towards the 1:30 on the clock. And lately I've been starting at 3, like an hour later. And I'm going to try and start early. I think that would be cool if we can get as close to 4-hour streams as possible. So just as a heads up, letting you guys know, 2 p.m. starts. I'm going to try my best. I find it difficult to commit to time sometimes, but I'm going to try. Same, I'm a hermit, yay. Hermit power. I think a lot of us here in this stream are introverted hermits, aren't we? I'm in an epic battle with my computer right now. It decided to have issues with the CPU fan, and it's just now out of warranty with the manufacturer. I have to pay lots of money to get it fixed. Oh no, that's awful. There's nothing worse than when your computer decides to throw tech issues at you. And especially when it's expensive as well. That's never fun. Never fun at all. My heart goes out to you, Zava. I thought you were starting a little early today. I know, I bet everybody's shocked. Everyone's probably thinking, oh my god, Rosie's live. But yes, you're all missing the important announcements that I'm going to be talking about now. Not that important, but there's a few things to chat about. A few. But yes, I'm sure you'll all get into the groove of it as we get used to the slightly earlier starts over time. Right, so what am I going to mention first? Okay, so I've done a couple of things yesterday I was working on. The first thing was I have made the building shorter by 1 tile. There were 3 tiles tall before, and now they're 2 tiles tall. So I'm going to see as 2 tiles of height per sort of story of a building in our game. And I don't think they look too bad. It was a little bit weird to look at first. So I was like, because I'm so used to looking at how it looked like before. But now I've looked at it, I think it works. I've made the windows positioned. They were a little bit higher before, but I didn't want them too low either. So I kind of put them in the middle. I figured a way to do that. But it hasn't really affected how the building looks inside, which is good because, you know. So that was something I did. That was one thing I did, because I was sort of in agreement with the folks that mentioned that it looked a little bit like tall. I started to think, yeah, actually that is a point. So that has been done now, and we'll cross that off stream basically, because we're doing a lot of the story stuff at the moment, and for the rest of this month we'll probably have quite a few of those sort of streams that we've been doing, but off stream I will be like smoothing out scenes, because there's a lot of scene work to smooth over for the first Plabble build release, so that's kind of what I'll be working on off stream. But we will probably have a bit of that going on stream sometimes when I need a break from the story ideas thing, because sometimes we'll want a break from that to let the ideas sink in. And I know we have to go back to polishing and making the Carol scene awesome as well, because I remember we was doing that, and you guys had some fantastic dialogue ideas for that scene with Carol. So when we do go back to that scene, which will take place on the bridge around here, when she joins the party, probably put a couple of polls up to make our minds up with some of the dialogue that we're going to go for in that scene, because there was a lot of different and awesome ideas thrown at us, so we'll see what wins the poll for those. And whether we do that Carol scene stream this Friday or some point next week, I'm not sure yet. We'll see how we get on today with the story suggestathon. And and then I'll make my mind up at the end of the stream what we'll be doing on Friday. But I'm going to cross-tiled off for now because we don't need it today. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I had made those buildings a little bit shorter, smaller now. I'm going through my morning routine, so I'll be lurking for a while. Yeah, for the lurks. Thank you for the lurks, David. You get those raindrops. You'll get those raindrops. Alright, and what else did I want to mention? Oh my goodness, I've got the notes somewhere because there's a few things today. Oh yeah, another thing, and I keep forgetting about this because it's something really small, but I want you guys to vote on our new Twitter thing that I've started, that I've begun once a week. It's like a poll question thing for funsies. And we have 34 votes so far on it. I'm not going to show it on the screen because you'll see what I vote for. But yeah, feel free to vote. It'd be pretty cool if we get to 50 votes by the time the poll closes. I think that'd be cool. We got 34 so far, so I might spam chat with you now and again so we can get more votes. Yeah, I'll just minimise that for now. And oh my goodness, the other thing I was working on yesterday. Now you'll all be shocked at this one, or maybe not. The other thing that I was working on yesterday, other than doing the buildings, was, if anyone's gone on the website in the last 10 hours, you might know. You probably not though, because it's so small and well hidden. But if you scroll right to the bottom of the website, oh my god, it's me! No! Not double rows. Can't have that. If you scroll right to the bottom, I've added a press and contact section to the website now. So you can email me by just clicking that. But the most important thing is the press bit. That's the important bit here. I added the contact bit so the press bit didn't look alone and weird, because if it was on its own it would have looked a bit strange, just press there in the middle of nowhere. So if we click that, our game has just become a bazillion times more professional now, everybody. So we have a press kit. Does anybody, I gather that most of you know what press kits are for and why games need them. Oh, you did vote on the Twitter van. Seems that Hunter is really the winner there, so far it is, but things could drastically change. We got 34 votes, so I want to aim for 50 because it doesn't close till a few more days, so we've got time. And I'm gonna put the link in chat now and again, so we can get more votes on that, and we can get a more of a true reflection of what the winner is the more we get votes. I think these little fun poll things, although it's just for fun and to get people following our Twitter, because who doesn't enjoy voting on polls, right? Although it's also mainly for that reason. It's also because, you know, the polls can tell me a lot. And if it turns out Hunter's more popular than Warrior, then I'm going to try even harder to make Warrior super cool. So people like that one. Rose, Mistress of the Fringe. Hi Oracle, how you doing? It's good to see you. I'm the queen of the fringe. You got it right. I love my fringe, or bangs if you're in the US, because we call it fringe in the UK. That's our word for them, but it's bangs in the USA. How are you doing anyway, Oracle? Hope you are having a good week so far. But yes, as I was saying, Raindrop Chronicles is a press kit now. If you don't know what a press kit is, it's really just something where people, mainly like media folks, can gather information on your game so they can easily like write articles about it and stuff. Because without a press kit, you'll never get anything written about your game, because how would they get all the information properly on what it is? So it just got everything in here. A description about the game, important information, the socials, features of the game, videos, images, logos, etc. So most games out there have one of these. In all honesty, you might have noticed if you go on their websites, they'll have a press section. So because when I did the picture game thing, the hashtag picture game submission that we did not too long ago, I was put on this database, this like spreadsheet of indie games, and it's all been like ordered. Like I'm number 69, funnily enough, on the spreadsheet out of a list of quite a lot of games, and the order that they put in, everything's scored apparently based on things, and one of the factors that come in for the scoring on this spreadsheet is the press kit. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll get a press kit done then, and that'll be helpful. So I did it. I am good, just getting ready for some sleep, but I will leave a lurk to support the stream. Thank you, Oracle, thank you so much. Okay, now for something else that's super important to mention before we start the story. Suggest-a-thon. I don't know if you guys are in the know about what's been happening lately on Twitch and how I just, all I'm gonna say is get an ad blocker. If you don't have an ad blocker, get one, because otherwise watching my stream and other streams, if you're not a sub, that is, will be a miserable experience. So I'm gonna just keep reminding you guys, if you're not a sub in the stream, because people who are subs have ad-free viewing anyway, so I think you guys are okay, but of course there's a lot of people who aren't, and I don't want you guys to run away from the stream forever because there's a bunch of adverts every 20 minutes. I've been using ad blocker for years where I was beating the algorithms, but because I worry about malware and other issues when I travel the internet. Well, just as an update, guys, it was a recent announcement in the last 48 hours or something. I only know because I follow the Twitter news, and I mean Twitch news, sorry. I always get mixed up with those two names because they're both with TWI. Twitch, Twitter. Right. But they're going to be putting loads of ads on streams from now on. Nobody likes it. Nobody's happy. I'm really pissed off. I don't know what else to say. It's just a real letdown, and it's gonna affect a lot of streamers, medium and small size streamers. Whose idea it was to put adverts in the middle of streams, I don't know. I mean, I'm very grateful for Twitch, in all honesty, because it's helped me find you. It's helped me discover my passion, and I've met some of the most awesome people from it. But it's sad to see what it's coming to. I did see the midstream ad thing that Carnage was talking about. Yeah, a lot of streamers have been talking about it. Many. The main issue is I've had a ton of Twitch pages crash because of their adverts, so I would refresh the page 3-4 times because I could finally watch the streamer. And that, I mean, it's wonderful, Linda, that you do that, that you would want to support a streamer that much. But there's so many other viewers out there that all just think screw this and go, and that's what's gonna be awful for us streamers, because we're gonna lose a ton of viewership. Only the 1%, the top streamers, won't be affected by it because their audiences are so large that it's not going to matter. But it's us medium and small creators that are going to struggle now. Can you stream with other platforms while streaming on this one? Well, Mixer's gone now, as we know, and I think that doesn't help either, because when competition goes and there's only one business, that's when like businesses start getting big for their boots. I don't have any desire to stream on any other platform, to be honest. I mean, I'm on Twitch, I've got my core community here. I'm not going to risk moving because I don't think it's going to help. But my respect has gone down massively for this platform over this decision in particular, and other decisions they've started to, other actions the last month or two as well. As I'm saying this, as you can see, our game is branded after Twitch. That's going. I've decided to, since all this, I don't want something precious of mine that means so much to me to be associated with Twitch any longer. So, this was on the cards for a while anyway. As you know, Raindrop Chronicles is episodic, so what we likely will do is give each episode its own like title. Like, you know how Legend of Zelda is, that like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, they've all got sort of subtitles, haven't they? And I think it'd be cool if we go down that route for our episodes rather than just call it Raindrop Chronicles episode 1 or Raindrop Chronicles episode 2. We can be a bit more, we can have a more eye-catching fancy now for our episodes. So I've mentioned it briefly on streams now and again. You know, at some point we're going to think of some titles that are relevant to the events of episode 1. You know, not something too long and winded, but you know, up to 2 or 3 or 4 words maybe, a title. Something that can replace a Twitch community made RPG basically as a subtitle. I mean, of course we are still a Twitch community made RPG, or community driven RPG if that's what we could also call it. That is what we are, because we are a Twitch community. But I don't want to make the name the focus anymore. I want to focus on the game. I don't want to support the greed. I don't approve of it. It's against my morals, and I feel a bit sick about it all. So that will be going. This Twitch will be going. Something snappy. Yeah. So let's catch up with chat first. I wish they had an option to turn off ads as a streamer. Yeah. I mean, the sad fact is greed. More money. I won't let you do that. Ad block has been my lifesaver. So yeah, guys, ad blocker. If you don't want to get frustrated watching me or any other streamers, then definitely get that ad blocker. I don't care. I mean, us creators do make money from ad revenue, but it's so small that it doesn't matter. In all honesty, I've probably made $1 in a month, so who cares? Just get that ad blocker, guys. Am I screwed up with that platform? I think, yeah. It's always a risk to move to another platform, especially if it's not as established. I'm happy sticking on Twitch. I mean, I know YouTube do live streaming. I don't really have any desire to go there because I've got all my community. If I was a new streamer starting fresh, I might be tempted to do YouTube streaming instead, but I've got you guys here, and I want to stay here, but that doesn't mean I like it here. Doesn't mean, but I'm gonna make sure, I just want to make sure I'm not like, because I used to admire Twitch so much. Like I said, they've made me discover my passion. They were great. They did so many good things on the platform. I've met the coolest people ever on Twitch. It's been like a lifesaver for me, this platform has. And I used to be proud to like have that Twitch community made RPG as, you know, such a focus on a product I'm creating. But not anymore. So in the next few weeks, baby, we'll look into thinking of some titles for episode 1, and that'll be how we advertise and rant at our game from that point on, because we were going to do that anyway. Each of our episodes need a cool name, you know. And something snappy. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for whatever's the best title. We'll probably gather a few ideas and put a poll up to see what takes people's fancy the most. And obviously I'm going to curate the ones that are relevant to the sort of vibe and mood and setting of episode 1. I think that'll be the best fit. YouTubers ads too, though. Even the live streaming YouTubers ads, because I know that the normal non-live videos have ads, like in the middle and stuff, which is a pain in the butt for sure. Definitely a pain, but what is so lethal are the ads during live streams. That is just absolutely gobsmacking. But you know that they could just ruins live content, you know. Well, you're more than just Twitch driven, but also Discord driven. Yeah, I mean, we kind of develop, you know, over time. You know, the project is gonna expand. I mean, we'll be on Patreon at some point too, so it's not like Twitch is the focus. So I think all in all, it'll be the right move to move away from that subtitle. So once we've figured out that name, I will be redoing the logo with the new name in it, and that'll be exciting. I'm looking forward. So I think it'll be super fun to think of some cool titles together. Maybe they don't do it during the stream. I'm actually not sure, but I think you can at least turn off ads for YouTube. Yeah, interesting. I'll have to look into whether they do ads in the middle of streams, because there's a couple of people who I know who are so mad about this whole issue that they're going to be moving to YouTube live stream, and they're boycotting Twitch for YouTube live streaming now. Some are boycotting Twitch for Facebook game, in which, my goodness, no way. You'll never get me on Facebook. Love me now. But yes, some are, and you know, I'll have to look into it, because it'd be no good if they moved and I was still getting the ads as well when they were streaming. But I know for a fact YouTube have ads in the middle of normal videos, non-live ones. But yeah, whether it's during the streams is a question mark. I'm actually not sure about that one. Alright, anyway, everybody, I think that's all there is to talk about. I think that's all the main things. I just wanted to mention that about the ad blocker and twitching, because I don't want you guys getting frustrated when watching the stream. So I'm glad we've covered that. And I'm going to turn off the press kit for now. We don't need it anymore. But I think it's pretty cool we've got one. Close the website off as well. And if ever anybody wants to have a proper look at it, I'll give you the link to the website. Scroll to the bottom, click press, and you'll be able to see it. Maybe I should add it to the Raindrop Chronicles links. Yeah, maybe I'll do that in a bit or later. In fact, I'll do it now, because I'll just forget otherwise. And then we'll start. And we'll do the story suggest-a-thon. All it is /press. Oh no, I forgot to name it. There we go, so that's what I did off stream yesterday evening. Okay. Here we are. I'm going to try and zoom in a bit more when doing this, just so you can all see the text clearly. So I'm going to try and get in the habit of staying zoomed in. Alright, so we have been focusing first on the 2 major events of episode 1, the spell of Everbloom Forest and the war between humans and reptiles. I'm gonna start taking a screenshot of this, I think, and popping it in the Discord, so because we're getting a bit more information on this now. So the stream is only going to show portions of it, so we'll need to get a screenshot of this at some point. Okay. I mean, I could embed on the Lore Bible, but that might delay us a bit for now, so we'll just take a simple screenshot for the time being, but maybe in the future we'll embed it somewhere on the Lore Bible. Right, so we've fleshed out the war side of things a bit. I've still got to make notes on the last stream. I've got to look through the VOD at the ideas. I also still have to reply to Van's message that you sent over, just so you know. I know that it's there. But I do have a few notes from the stream before, so some of those could go in. I think we've got the main points in, and I wanted to put a few ideas like this, a few boxes, so we can up for consideration. But other than that, I also want to flesh out these 4 things as well today, because they're quite key characters that are related to the spell. They're alive because of the spell, although these 4 things are. So I wanted to talk about them a bit more and potential story ideas for those guys. And I think at that point, once we've done that, we'll have kind of talked enough about the 2 events, and then we can really start thinking more about what's going to branch off it and consider side quests, NPCs. And lastly, the last thing we'll do is the outline of the main quest from start to end. Well, we've already done the first 2 main quests, so it'll be main quest 3 onwards until the end of episode 1. We'll make a sort of outline of major events that are going to happen, and any ideas that we get like this, squares, because that will probably eventually have a ton of these plastered all over this page. They'll be what we use to potentially do polls, because we'll have a lot of polls by the end of this, that's for sure. Did you mention me? Just walk back in, something about message. Oh yeah, I still got a reply, Van. Still got a reply, so I'll get around to that at some point, but no worries. I haven't forgotten. Okay. Alright, so the first idea we did, this was actually Zex's idea, and I thought that it was pretty cool. And I thought, yeah, I'll get this one in, about potential pilgrimage. Whether we do that, we don't know, but I thought it was worth considering to add it there. So I'm going to just add a few more ideas that we've had and put them around that are related to the war bit, and then we'll move on to these guys for the next part of the stream and think of ideas to branch off those as well. Okay, so I'm going to get in. Let me just look at my secret Google Doc. I'm going to get in the one that was suggested on our first story suggest-a-thon stream, that we all really liked. The romance, the forbidden romance. Okay. And there's a lot. The forbidden romance is one of many ideas you guys have had, but I thought we'll start off with that one. We don't want to forget these. Okay, so I've got some notes on it somewhere. Okay, so I've got some notes. I have to break them down. So I'll get just copy and paste that box for now. Maybe put this one about here, maybe. And that for now. Idea. So this is a romance, so let's get a love emoji. So I want to try and make this visual. So I'm gonna add some emojis. A heartbroken emoji, because it's forbidden. I did the feet for the pilgrimage idea. I'll title them as well. Pilgrimage. So it's a little bit more clarity. The forbidden romance. Forbidden romance. Okay, so now let's get some stuff in here. We might need a bigger box for this one though. Also, let's make the text here at the top. Right, so this forbidden reptile romance, which Xavier suggested, and everybody just got super excited when it got mentioned in chat on Friday's stream. Do you want to go for a teenage romance, adult romance, or maybe an elderly romance? That is the question. All those details we can consider for sure. And then if we get like a few, like if some of you are like, oh, an elderly would be cool, or a teenage one would be cool, or an adult, then we'll probably do a poll and put those choices in and see what tops it. Because we'll probably, I mean, I'm not gonna. I imagine we'll have a couple of dozen polls over on our Discord in the polls channel when all this story stuff is all done, when we've completed all our ideas and we've got the outline ready. We'll need to set some things in stone, so expect a ton of polls, everybody, when that time comes. And like we say, what you says, for example, Linda, will be the perfect poll for when we make decisions regarding this. So some notes. A reptile, a human and reptile love story. Maybe they have been sneaking off to meet each other. Yeah, this might be a long box because I've got a couple of ideas that could come off from this. I might do some other boxes though for the ideas to come off it, and I might add Linda's idea in there too. Because I've been collecting everyone's notes from VODs over the last 3 months or so, and I want the ones that like really cool and fitting to be added on this sheet that we've got here. So over time we're gonna have tons of stuff on here. And we could do one of the younger ones, but then hint at the fact that an elderly one may have happened a long time ago, maybe, and they can no longer be together, maybe. I mean, in some situations we'll be like, we won't have a poll because we'll just feel like, no, this is perfect, this story is just gonna work this way, and we'll do it like this because it couldn't possibly be better any other way. So in situations like that, we wouldn't do a poll if we was in full agreement that something was just best. But if there's ever like a time when we're like, that one or that one, I don't know, or this one, and there's a lot of then that's when we'll do polls. But I like the idea of 2 old farts perfect for each other, but they always have their own families before they met and they never really got together. Oh, that's cute. Like, you know, I think we all love a bit of a sad love story, don't we? I think all of us like that deep down, and we want to get the feels going in this game. like I've said, I mean, I don't know if you guys in particular have heard me say this during streams, but I've said that the side quests that we do have, and even the main quest, the side quest, any story element that we have in this game is gonna have to be fabulous and memorable. I'm not gonna be putting filler in. I want to have moving or entertaining or memorable or intriguing quests for us, and stories and mini stories. So the expectations are high. We'll only have the best, and I feel like Forbidden Romance definitely is one. It's definitely one that'll tug at our heartstrings. Has the potential to, if we do it right anyway. Alright, so is there any other keynotes I need to get in? But most of the stuff that you guys throw in chat during stream, I'll be collecting afterwards when I look through the VODs. Eventually I'll be adding any really, really cool ones to here. Sometimes I might just think, oh yeah, and I'll just stick it on here straight away, but it's sometimes easier to do it all when I've curated and collected all of it and had a proper look. Heartstrings, why not chocolate cake? Kai's Exie, how you doing? My goodness, it would pull at your heartstrings, Exie, because you're a sucker for romance. So what we're doing now, Exie, is we're getting in some of the key ideas first. I'm putting them in boxes so that they're clear and stand out, matching them up with emojis and titles. And I'm going to be writing a bit of info in here and ideas that can come off these stories. And there's going to be a lot over time. At the moment, we've only got your idea for the pilgrimage in here and the Forbidden Romance one that Xavier had, but there's a lot of other ideas. Like, I've got a notepad file here of a ton of ideas that everybody's been suggesting over Mondays and Friday streams. So there's gonna be more, gonna be a lot. So be prepared, and I'll be taking a screenshot as soon as we've got enough on this sheet. I'll be taking a screenshot and popping it in the Discord. Like with younger folks, you can have all the sneaking out and the tension of trying to keep up with factions' expectations of them. But then with the older folks, you get more of the sad feels because they don't have much time to love one another anymore. Aww. Yeah, I think that naturally when you think of Forbidden Romance, you think of younger people because they're more rebellious in nature, and they're usually more willing to fall in love with another race because they're not as xenophobic, younger people. So for sure it makes sense to be someone younger, but certainly the elderly has an appeal, and it's a bit of subverted expectations as well. So possibly a poll for that one. If we can't make our minds up whether we want a younger couple or an elderly one, then we'll do a poll for that when we've all got our ideas out, when we have our poll extravaganza. Because I'll call it a poll extravaganza event, everybody. I'll advertise it and make a special poster. I'll be like, poll extravaganza on this day. Make sure you're in our Discord so you can vote, because there's going to be 50 polls in there. Well, 50's probably a bit of a push, but there's probably going to be quite a few. And it'll all be linked to all these ideas we've all had. Wait, so does that mean that the pilgrimage for sure, or is this outlining that the pilgrimage idea will be on the poll? Yeah, that's why I've put idea there and not, because so you guys know that it's not 100% set in stone and can be adapted. Because we don't know, we can't really set anything in stone 100% at this point, because things might happen where we have to change things up a bit if it clashes or doesn't fit like we initially thought it might. So right now it's just classed as ideas, whatever's in these little boxes here. And it'll be the stuff that's, not everything will be a poll. Like, for example, if there's something that we think just really works, a single idea, and we think that works, like that is just perfect for what we're doing, in the event of that, we'll just do it anyway. if we're all in agreement that it's the way to go. But if there's ever any clashes, like, I don't know whether, if like we're all like, oh, I don't know if we like this one or that one or that one, and we get in like 2 or more ideas of the same thing, that'll be when we do a poll. So, but you know, we could still do a poll for the pilgrimage. We could just ask a simple yes or no. You know, did they go on a pilgrimage, yes or no? And also we could get other ideas, like some of you might have other reasons for did the humans invade, and what, and you know, more related and relevant ideas could come off that could potentially end up in a poll with that one. We don't know at this point what the future holds and what ideas we'll get. I like I did too, so that's the one that sort of inspired me to start doing these little idea boxes for our ideas. For the romance, would a Mayfly December romance be something that could interest you? A Mayfly December romance. Tell me more about that one, Sexy. And sorry about the bashing of my desk, everybody. I was moving and I just bashed everything. But yes, feel free to throw all your ideas at me. Any tropes, any concepts and all that thing. Sometimes I might want a bit more clarity, just so I know that we're on the same page. All right, so there's a couple of initial ideas I've got for this forbidden romance story that I want to get in here, and you folks might end up bouncing more ideas off my initial ideas, so we'll see where it goes. So I want to get those in. Okay, so I'm going to get another type of box here now for ideas coming off the main idea. Well, I'm going to make it a different colour, just so for clarity, so we don't get confused. I don't want to make the text too black because it'll stand out a bit too much then, and I don't want that text to be what draws everyone's eye, because this is more of a side thought. So we don't need that heading now. Okay. For now, I'm going to get the idea in a sec. But I know throughout the stream today, and I mean I've got last stream where I've still got to make some notes as well, curate some of your notes. I might not put the boxes on the page today because I might need to process the ideas first, but eventually you'll see some of your ideas pop up on here during some of our streams, maybe next week. If we do it on Friday as well. So it's basically when you have a romance on where the person is much longer lived on the other. Maybe reptiles live 2 or 3 times longer than humans, or maybe they die of old age much quicker, so it makes the romance between the species more tragic because one party is going to have to suffer their lover passing away. That is a wonderful idea, and it just enhances the whole tragicness of it all. What we want to do, if we're going to go for this forbidden romance side plot, is that we want it to be frigging tragic as possible. So yeah, this is the potential. If anything's going to pull on the heartstrings, it's going to be this particular one. So, I mean, there might be other quests that we have that bring the feels as well, like the Stumpy one. So we might have it be a tearjerk again, but you don't know. Not all the quests will be sad ones. There'll be some quests that are comedy, and there'll be some quests that are mystery and give us all sorts of different feelings. Because I want this game to make you laugh and cry and everything in between. But this one is definitely a sad one. Yay, raindrops! Oh my god, Sorta, look at that. Nearly 500. Nice could couple that perhaps with a biological incompatibility, like they can't have children but they want a family real bad. Yeah. Thanks for all the ideas, guys. We can have a lot to go off with this one. Maybe the Forbidden Romance story alone will have like 10 polls. That's, you know, when I said there might be 50 polls on the poll extravaganza, we might not be far off. Okay, so my idea was, and I'm going to get my idea in first, but I might get Zex's in as well. But there'll be some I might need to process first because I might get brain melt, but we'll get some of the boxes in. But we got a lot to talk about today because we've also got these 4 guys to chat about as well. So there's potential stories with these, very much. Okay, so we've just got a bunch of letters in here so far. I want to try and be brief about this one though, because I've got a really long paragraph here in my notes and I want to try and break it up so we haven't got too much to read. Little busy, but I want to listen, so I'm quiet today. Oh, no worries, you listen away. And if you have to lurk, feel free to. Okay, to put it bluntly, my idea was this for if we want a tragic, oh hang on, for a tragic ending, I might get rid of the extra fluff of text if we don't need some of it, but one of the lovers would delete that just fluff. One of the lovers could die, and my idea was while the human and reptile embrace, a human could witness this and rush in and attack, killing the reptile. Yeah, don't cry everybody, this is, I've got a sick mind. I've got a very, very sick mind. But while the human and reptile embrace, a human could witness this and rush in and attack, killing the reptile. But this could have layers of complexity to this particular idea, like for the human that attacks might not know that they're lovers. They could have thought that the human was in danger, perhaps, so they're doing it to protect the human. The reason I've said the reptile would be the one killed is because I feel it would make the most sense. If the human's the one killed, it just makes the reptiles out to be demons. And I think it should be the other way around more, and the reptile should be the one killed. Just that's what makes sense to me with that particular one. And this, it also adds to the a potential outcome where the person that killed the reptile needs to be dealt with, like killed, to make up for the attack, especially if you decide to go down the route of this guy joining the party, because he's an optional playable character and will only join if you become sympathetic and show remorse towards the reptiles. So that is a bit of a, you know, that is one. I'll just add that note in, and then I'm going to add a couple of your ideas, folks. Okay, I think that's enough for that one. So we'll get an arrow off there with that particular idea. What if they both die? The human is injured or sick and passes away in the reptile's arms, and a human stumbles upon them, sees the dead human and attacks and kills the reptile. Yeah, see, this is cool, and this is what I was expecting for you folks to come up with potential ideas from this to make it even better. So yes, throw them all at me, and I might not get all of them in on here on the sheet today, because but they'll be on here eventually if it fits and works. Okay, so I mean, because we got to think, if we think of this scenario, I mean, there's a trope for this. There's an actual trope. Let me find out what it was called, because interrupted cooldown hook, that might be the one, but it's basically a trope that is linked to this particular idea. But at the end of the day, the human, there's going to be a massive reaction from them if their lover dies. They're going to be furious. So thinking of their fate and what happens to them is also something to consider. The ideas of, like, you know, thinking that the human was being harmed just adds more. It makes that human a little bit more sympathetic, the one that did the attacking, because if they literally killed the reptile just out of pure hate, and, you know, we wouldn't like that human very much, and we certainly wouldn't care much if they had to be, like, put down for what they did to make up for it. We'll just be like, yeah, just kill them, they're an asshole. So it just makes it a little bit more complicated. That's good. Development idea, maybe which have the ending of the romance tied to a random variable, so it's different each playthrough. I mean, that could work. It all depends. The only reason we couldn't do that was if this story ends up very closely linked to the main arc. Like, if, for example, what the outcome will greatly affect certain things in the story to come, then it might be a bit hard for us to have too many multiple endings for this particular quest line. I mean, there's definitely an appeal about things ending differently, that's for sure. I mean, we're all about the multiple branches, aren't we? And I think that can definitely work. Because I don't want to give you the illusion of choice. I want it to seem real. I want the world to seem dynamic and anything could happen. I think that's really appealing. So, for sure, I'd definitely be for something ending differently. I mean, in certain circumstances, it might be almost impossible if it's so key to the main plot. But we don't know whether this would be. The only thing that seems like there'll be an outcome for is like if Rex joins a party based on how things have gone, sort of thing. But that could be something we could make work, even if we had multiple endings for this particular story. Throw it out there because it's definitely appealing, and I think most of us here, chat, would be more keen on that sort of thing rather than just a one branch outcome, because that's sometimes what people get annoyed about with this choice matters genre, because they think, well, if choice really matters, then we'd be able to save the one that got murdered, right? Rather than them always getting murdered every single time, no matter what you do. So I can definitely understand the frustration when certain things always happen no matter what you do. So if anybody has any ideas for other outcomes from this particular idea, feel free to say as well. That's a super tragic story, it is. Like I said, I've got a sick mind. I've got a bit of a depressing storytelling skill within me. But like I said, my job is to bring the feels for certain quests. But I don't want the game to be a complete sad trip and tragic trip. I want us to have side quests and quests that bring joy as well, and bring entertainment and laughter and intrigue. But certain ones will be the feelsy quests as well. The forbidden romance, there's just something that you think, oh, perfect for a tragic story, that one. It's almost very difficult for it to be any other way. Reading it really quick, peeking it up from work. Yeah, feel free to look. Even take a screenshot if you want, guys. If you're scared of it disappearing, because I will be moving up shortly and adding more stuff to this. Because Zexy had a good idea, and it's simple enough for me to quickly add. If people's ideas are a little bit more complex and take more thought, then I'll probably add it once it's sunk in a bit, when off stream. But Zexy's idea was about let's get it up. Zexy said something else as well. I'm going to catch up with chat because I've noticed I've missed a few things. But the age thing was really cool, and I want to get that one in. I don't think that needs to have too much info there. So I'm going to just get that one in now, actually. Maybe reptiles live for 2 or 3 times longer than humans, or die of old age much quicker. Could be either at this point, we wouldn't know, but it's nice to know that there's both options. Making the romance more tragic, because one party will suffer their lover passing away. Okay, there we go. A bit shorter now. So we've got another one in there. I've got a bit to catch up with and chat, so I'm going to have a good read in a sec. If you don't want to go for incompatibility, maybe there could be a newborn in the story and the survivor raises the child alone and you catch a glimpse of that later. That'll be the silver lining. Oh yes, there is going to be a newborn. Like, I think that's set in stone. There's going to be a baby reptile, because that's it's kind of become part of the main quest arc that Carol the Barrel's family have been kidnapped. Someone kidnapped them in the first place. Turns out it was a reptile that kidnapped them. Only one person witnessed this and knows who it was that did the kidnapping. That is Rose the vampire. She saw it happen. She actually attacked the hijacker, or attempted to anyway. So at some point, Rose, because she's a mute, she's not able to communicate with speech who the attacker was, so she has to draw a painting of the attacker, and it's the reptile. And that's what's going to kind of trigger, once we show this painting to the villagers of Lakefall of this reptile that Rose has painted, that's what's going to trigger them panicking and being like, oh no, the reptiles are this, the reptiles are that. And that'll be when we start finding out more about them as a race, even more at that point, I'd say. But basically, this reptile that did the kidnapping, to make him a bit more morally grey and not just like an all-out evil kidnapper, the community and myself thought of the idea of him having a family that he's trying to provide for. And that's why he did the hijacking, so he could get money from Chub Cheeks, who paid him to do it. And if he's providing for a family that includes a newborn baby reptile, that just makes us feel super sad for him, because the baby reptile's adorable and we want him to be safe because he's a precious thing. So that is kind of how that is going. So we'll need to get that put in, but I'm going to catch up with chat because I miss so much, so I'm going to read more. Getting the couple to leave and go to the city to survive. Maybe in a later episode we run into the couple again, and that's where the incompatibility comes in. Yes, like for sure. Like, I mean, episode 1 is all happening in Everbloom Forest and Lakefall. That is what episode 1 is, and we go to future regions and cities in the coming episodes after that. You know, even though NPCs' stories are going to be more in Lakefall and Everbloom, these particular NPCs that we're going to be creating here, they'll be, you never know, they could move, we could meet them in future episodes. I get real satisfaction when I play games and I meet an NPC from earlier on in the game, in mid or end game, and it's because I'm like, oh, it's them again, I remember them. And it's a really cool feeling when you see an old NPC. So I'd love the idea of bringing in the NPCs, or even this couple if they survived, or any other characters in this episode in a future episode. What if they both? Yeah, I've read that bit, so that will be something we can get in as well. Survivor raise a child alone, you catch a glimpse of that later. Yeah, and whatever happens with this newborn reptile, we don't know the fate, because it's very underdeveloped right now. All we know is that there's going to be a baby reptile, and his dad is going to extreme measures and crime and all that, getting paid off by bad guys to do things to provide for the family and that. And I mean, I know someone mentioned the other stream that the reptiles might be quite well off with the money, Raindrops, because that's our currency, but these guys live in caves. Maybe reptiles could, I mean, I'm not against reptiles being a richer race, but I don't know whether it would be believable if these reptiles in Everbloom in particular would be rich, especially if they're living in caves and resorting to crime to afford to play for their babies and families. But Chub Cheeks, for example, would be one of those rich, money-grabbing reptiles, I guess. So it could be a thing. If the female lover is killed, maybe she had met her male lover in the forest and just told him she was pregnant. Ooh. So if she's the one killed and she's pregnant, do you think that just adds to the tragedy? Is that what you're thinking? But yeah, I have no thoughts on what the gender would be for who, if the human would be the man or the woman, or whether the reptile would be the man or the woman. I've not even thought what would be best in that regard. So you guys can think of that and think about what might work best there as well. Like I'm seeing just from talking about this since I've put it down, we're getting a ton of ideas just from this little story, and it's going to be exciting to make notes of them all these ideas. And this one, I can definitely see a couple of polls on this particular one, maybe even a few polls on this one when we do the poll extravaganza. Someone kidnapped them, plot twist, Axel was behind the whole thing, but he was just trying to get Carol's sister thing got out of hand. This is a joke, not a serious suggestion. But when you say jokes, Zexy, they're actually brilliant. So I'm always like, yeah, Zexy's jokes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah. But we do need to introduce Axel at some point to the game. We don't know when it's going to be. It might not even be in episode 1. But he is an oil drum, and I can't imagine an oil drum hanging about in a forest like this, because it's not really the environment for an oil drum. But you know, he's going to make an appearance at some point. I can see him being one of these characters that are talked about a lot before we actually meet him. But it's the same with the other barrels, the rest of Carol's companions. We're probably not going to meet them until more towards mid-game in person. We'll experience them as characters in the form of flashbacks and dialogue in early game. So they've been kidnapped after all. We don't know where they are, so a big portion of the story will be finding them. So we'll have to see them in flashbacks if we want to be reminded of them and have some fun, entertaining scenes with them. What do the hybrid human reptiles actually look like? Is it just that they look like one or the other, or have abilities of the opposite race? Oh, well, there's no hybrid reptiles or humans in the game, or that are even being written yet, so we don't even know what they look like. Hybrid races will be a thing in Raindrop Chronicles. I know that one of the community characters, Storm Eagle's character, is a hybrid race. He's half human, half wolf, or half canine. You know, it could be a thing where we decide to create hybrid races, and we'd have to decide together what that hybrid race could be. Like, if there was going to be a baby from a reptile human, we'd have to think about what they'd be like, I guess. That's up to us. And because there's a chance that the lizards are going to take back Lakefall or be killed off, I thought that's why we talked about the forbidden romance fleeing to a city where things were less rule races, assuming both lovers survive. Take back Lakefall, be killed off. Yeah, so that makes sense. I agree, Zaxi, because if they were going to survive, that is. If it's this tragic ending, then of course they couldn't do that because one of their lovers would have tragically died. But I love the idea of there being another ending there, at least one other ending anyway. And potentially that could be it, like they run off together if they do survive. I mean, who knows? Maybe this event happens and the reptile does get attacked but survives, or maybe even they don't. That human doesn't come across them in the first place in one branch and they're completely safe, but they realise they have to escape if they want to stand a chance of having a life together. And it makes sense because they wouldn't, when you think they're not going to survive here because it's so racist. So they would go to another city, and I do like that. I think there's an appeal about potentially meeting them again later on, even if it's in another city and they don't have a major part, they're just there in the city together and there's a few little dialogues with them. That'll be just a nice little touch as well. So what does everyone think? Does everyone like the idea of there being at least two endings with this sort, the forbidden romance plot? One where it's super tragic and one where the lovers escape. Any thoughts there? I mean, we could have to have a third if there's even any cool ideas, other cool ideas, but those are the first two initial ones I'm seeing. The man reptile is pregnant like a seahorse. Depends how wacky Whereas wants to go. Well, if we look at the reptiles, I mean, we can see Rex's reptile character right next to us here. So maybe it's a human with wings, Or maybe it's a reptile that doesn't have wings. We could, you got to think of like, pick out features of each of them and see how we can combine them, I guess, to make a reptile into a human. The first thought is having a human face with green skin or something, or scaly skin, or even just a normal human just with reptile wings partially. A bit like the Aura in Final Fantasy 14. They're like human in looks, but then they've got the scales and the tail, so they've kind of took on some sort of dragon form. And I kind of on first thought imagine maybe a hybrid reptile human looking something like that. Hi Sympathy, how you doing? It's good to see you. Welcome to the stream. There's also the possibility that the newborn is in the form of an egg, especially if the female is the reptile, and then there could be a thing where humans are trying to destroy the egg. Great idea, Zava. And in all honesty, that has been said before, actually, when we were having a chat about reptile lore briefly in a stream, and I think it would be quite interesting if we went that route, where reptiles are born differently to humans with eggs instead of how humans are. But it's an interesting one for sure. It shows the difference between the two races as well, like, and I think some of the slurs, some of the nicknames we came up with for reptiles that humans would call them were things like eggborn, and like names like that, like eggborn, you're an eggborn, those eggborn, etc., would be a sort of slur in the world that humans could use if we did decide to go for that route where they're born by eggs. Because if it's an egg, you get into the morality of whether or not the eggs is life. Yeah, it just makes things more complicated. It's so interesting to have these differences between the races. So I'm with you there. I'm good with two endings. Reptile with no wings and no tail could be true. I guess we could get, if the time comes, if we ever decide to go down the hybrid route at some point, I guess we could mock up some concepts and of how they could look, and we could have a poll on the best. But we don't even know if we'll see one in the game. We might have the story of a baby hybrid reptile being born in an egg, but might not get to see it alive. We don't know. I mean, we might, but we don't know. Who knows? That's the question. Hi Vagabond, how you doing? Welcome back to the stream. How are things on your end? I saw you were making a new game yesterday. So were you doing the streaming? Any ideas for what this new game is? How exciting. New game hype for Vagabond. If it's a reptile liver being... Oh, do you mean lovers X? Reptile liver. If it's a reptile liver being killed by a human who sees the lovers together, it should be a sibling that does the killing to justify an emotional spur at the moment reaction. The sibling could be a quest giver, one who we've had I think that's good. I love the idea of us getting to have known this person, this human, and actually like this human, because how much more complicated and sad does that make it if the human that's done the attack, the killing, is someone we actually like? Because if it was an asshole who we didn't like, we'll just be like, just execute them for what they did. I don't care about them. They're an asshole. But if we actually like them, it's just like, oh no, it's like you want to pull your hair out. That's what a good story is. That's for sure. When you feel all these conflicted emotions, and I'm sort of with you as well that making them a sibling works as well. I just was really drawn to the idea of them not even realising, this sibling not knowing that they're lovers maybe, and at first glance thinking that the reptile's gonna hurt the human, and they're just thinking, oh no, my sister or whoever, my brother or my cousin, and being like, in just spur of the moment, out of panic, pulling out their sword or pulling out their bow and arrow, or because it's probably bow and arrow and axes that they use here in Everbloom, a bit like our starting classes, funnily enough. But it kind of fits with the sort of setting to have hunters and axe wielders here. And I mean, with all the wood and all the trees, there's going to be some axe wielders, I suppose. But if like that human just does it spur at the moment, doesn't think, it just makes it more sad. It's so sad. And you guys think it's sad too. We got a tragic story here, everybody. I love it. We haven't even started. This is just the first one. And I must have been in a meeting, and Shelley, because they're born from eggshells and it's quick to say, rolls off the tongue, I like it. At some point we're going to have some polls with sort of curse words, fictional curse words as well. And we'll see what everybody favours. But in regards to the fictional curse words, different ones will probably suit different contexts and sentences. And different people as well. Like some races might use certain curse words more than others. And, you know, people of Lakefall might use curse words that people of another city might not use. And they might use different ones. And thanks for swinging by the art stream on Monday. Yeah, I started a new game yesterday, sort of coming together. That's so exciting. And you're welcome, Vagabond. Gotta pass the love to awesome folks. And I hope the rest of the stream went well. I always have to rush off for my dinner after a stream, but I hope it went well. Oh right, the siblings season together and goes into protect mode and does a murder. It just feels more justified to me if it was a sibling or parent. I agree, because if we were going for that thing where, you know, they're like, oh no, they're hurting them and they're rushing and kill the reptile spur at the moment, it would feel a little bit weird if there was no relationship there between the person, the attacker, and the lover of the one that didn't get killed. So yes, the human sibling thinking the reptile was harming humans. Yeah, okay. And there was another thing that was mentioned, which was we have got to know them, got to know and like them. So maybe right, so we've said the human attacker, that's it, that's a typo. So the human attacker would need to be dealt with to make, and we know what dealt with means, don't we folks? Execution or banishment, but most likely execution. Maybe you could give the choice, but like execution or banishment, and there's a branching path of what you do with the attacker as well, rather than it just being an execution. But I don't know, maybe that's the easy way out if we have banishment as an option, because everyone would just go for that. And but maybe if you banished him instead of executed him, Rex wouldn't join the party. So, and then we can add this human could be a quest giver or someone we have got to know and like. So it's not necessarily a quest giver, it could just be someone that ends up part of the main scenario. Like for example, when we go back to Lakefall with Rosie's painting of the reptile and start asking around, he could be an NPC we bring into the main plot at that point, perhaps, if we want to get some development going with this character so it hits us harder when the time comes. I think we definitely need to make them likeable. If we're gonna have real impact on this quest, it's gonna make it better if we like this human attacker than if we think they're an asshole, because we're not gonna care then, are we, what happens to them. Is it the disgruntled Grandpa Bob simulator? Maybe exile is only an option if you've sided with the humans and finished his quest line. But if you've sided with the reptile, oh yeah, that works too, because I liked the idea at first of giving the two options for what happens to the human, but banish, if we have, imagine the choice, execution or exile, banishing them, like, you know, people will just go for banishing because they think, well, it's less cruel and we like this person, so like 98% of people go for that, and that's allowing it's making it a bit too nice. Oh mate, I'm evil, I want people to struggle and be like, no. But you know, I'm determined to make a game that does that, so I want it to be memorable and to live on in your hearts forever and ever, so that when you're in another, like, many years down the road, you'll all be like, remember that game where the reptile got killed and you had to kill that person? You know, that's what I want to make an impact. But yeah, that works, X, is something to that degree, because it makes sense to have it. So if he was more towards the humans, you can be, but if you chose to be the reptile sympathiser, then yeah, they kill. So that would be one negative thing about being a reptile sympathiser in this game, because so far it's actually been massive plus points for the player if they are a reptile sympathiser, because you gain an extra optional playable character in Rex, who's a healer character, so that's very valuable to have as a party member. But you've also got, now, if you're not a reptile, if you are a reptile sympathiser, then this story will end more tragically. So, you know, and that's cool, because there's consequences either way, then negative consequences, no matter what you decide to do. What if instead of banish, execute, although this may be darker than what we want, they take away something from their body like the wings or tail, and they live in shame without those? Yeah, well, if it's a human, we can't do that, because unless, what could you take off a human? But even if we can't do it for this quest, save that idea. I love that idea for doing something like that works with a reptile, so in a quest. Because we might get ideas where we think, oh, that's a great idea, but it doesn't fit for this particular quest. I mean, it would fit if the attacker was a reptile, because then we can be like, yeah, let's chop off the wing or the tail. But because it's a human who's the attacker, and I mean, it fits for being a human. If it was the other way around and it was the reptile doing the attacking, it doesn't fit so well with the narrative that we're building here. So yes, but I like the idea. It's really dark, I agree, but it's interesting. So who knows, maybe we can introduce that somehow, where a reptile needs to be punished and have his wings or tail chopped off. I'm dark. I'm dark. I love how Zeva said in brackets, although this may be darker than what we want, because you know that if you're gonna talk about dark things, I'm gonna be all for it. Like I said, I'm evil. I believe. And you know, Raindrop Chronicles, we do have a very sort of light-hearted sort of comedy about it, you know, with the living fruits and barrels, which it's going to have that tone, that's for sure. It's always going to be a very funny, wacky game, but it's also, I've always said I'm not against having some dark elements in our game, because I have a love for that. I'm very, very into that kind of storytelling. that realistic, gritty stuff. So it's going to be both. It's going to be light-hearted and funny, but also dark and tragic as well. I believe Rex's strict execution policy. I love it. Oh my God, Met, that's so clever. It's like, that is an amazing pun. Rexecution policy. I need to make a note of that one, because that's got to come in the dialogue. And that way your choices still matter. It's just holding you to the choices you made up to that point. I also like Xavier's idea. I think we've got some really good ones. This is so good. Because you guys have brought up things I've not even thought about when I came up with this idea. And this is what's going to get us a really quality game story here. Because I'm thinking of initial ideas, and we're coming up on how to make that even cooler and more impactful. So it's a lot of fun. Voice, eyes, ears, I don't know. Eyes, something that leaves a nasty scar. Oh yeah, maybe a human could have his eye cut out then. Doable. There's something about a reptile getting his wing or tail chopped off though that makes me really want to cry. I really am tempted to sort of slot that idea in somewhere in another quest, down the road, because this is just one part. We're going to come up with many different mini story arcs here. And some of them will probably be part of the main quest, and others will be part of side quest, because whatever ones we decide need to be part of the main quest are the ones that have got more of that matter more towards the overarching thing. But the side quest ones that we have will be things that, like the Stumpy one, that will be the perfect side quest, because Stumpy's not really a character that's going to have a massive impact to the whole overarching story, but he's just very memorable and cute to have as a side quest. So we're going to talk about Stumpy today as well, because he's one of the characters on the list here to talk about, so we'll go back to him in a sec. We'll be revisiting all that stuff soon, because I really want to talk about them today as well. Gonna lurk and work. Take care, Vagabond. Thanks for hanging out and bringing in a lurk. My character is a priest in the game, but he isn't introduced at this point. He is actually the healer of the game. He is. Vandally is a priest, and I always think of the priest as your typical RPG traditional healer. There's always other healer classes, but sometimes, we have a herbalist class, for example, in our game that isn't in the game yet, but they're on the list. A herbalist could be a healer character, for example, because you could use the herbs as forms of healing, but they're not your traditional healer, are you? Like the priest. It's like the priest is really that typical RPG healer that you picture. The one that has the spells and all that stuff. And maybe the reptiles force feed a human a fruit that leaves a permanent disability that's more magical in nature if we need to get not a body part. Yes, and we're going with that fruit thing. I am really looking forward to thinking of some fruits side effects, like some really twisted dark fruit side effects that we can bring in. Some of them will be good side effects, but some of them will be awful ones, because the fruits have experimented and potentially really screwed up with what these fruits can do. And I'd love to bring in that fruit part to this, merge it in with this story as well, or other stories. And because that's what I really love that in storytelling, when separate mini stories and different parts actually link together as well. It's super cool. Well, a tail is for balance, so it would make it really hard on a reptile, and that's why it's so tragic and makes me want to have it as a story, because we'll want to cry. We'll be like, that poor reptile, that poor tailless reptile. Chubbs is a healer. Is there any other class with healing skills that can affect the party? It'll determine. Well, Chubbs isn't a playable character in the game. I think you meant Rex there, didn't you, Zexy? This reptile here. He's a healer. He's a cleric character healer, but he's optional. So, you know, some players will get him and others won't. Whereas Van's priest character is one that I believe will always be in the party. He's not an optional one. So some of our playable characters will be optional and others will be ones that you'll always get. It'll depend. We'll have a mixture. We'll have to figure out at some point which playable characters will be optional and which ones will be always, because it'll all depend. It'll all depend on that particular character's arc, and because not all of them can be forced playable characters, because if we're going to have a lot of playable characters over the course of the whole game, the entire saga, it's going to be very hard to fit 50 playable characters within the space of you know, the main story arc. So some of the playable characters will be ones that you find from side quests, optional ones. I think there's something really fun about unlocking optional playable characters as well. But it'll all depend who works. Certain characters will be a cert for the main quest because they happen to fit in there and need to be there, but others, playable characters, might fit more for a side thing. Maybe we could, oh my goodness, I've got so much chat to catch up with, but I love it. I love getting lots of chat because it means that stream is hype and loads of fun. So I'm going to catch up now with chat. So maybe we could see an old reptile in the village who has no wings, tail, and when you befriend him, he could explain he did a bad thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. Sometimes showing is more powerful than telling. Like sometimes actually seeing it happen rather than being told can have more of an impact. But it could work. It could work. And maybe reptiles without tails are considered subhuman and looked down upon. So cutting off a reptile's tail is culturally worse than death for them. Yeah, and there's the wings as well, because someone mentioned, I think it was National who mentioned this several streams back, that reptiles might like move their wings as a greeting, like wiggle them a bit. So imagine if a reptile didn't have wings, then they couldn't greet people. How sad. How sad. And then they've got the tongues. Apparently we're going to give reptiles long tongues as well, but we can't really see them because they've got the mouths. They're inside their mouths. But it's more sad if it's chopped off. If they do have their tongue chopped off, they'd be a mute like Rose then, and they wouldn't be able to speak. How sad. Okay. Do tails not regenerate for them? I didn't think of that. Well, we can make up our own rules. It's a fantasy world after all. So our reptiles might not have tails that regenerate. I don't know if other games or lore in particular do have their reptiles regenerate tails, but if it doesn't work for us, we don't have to do that. We can make up our own fantasy rules. Whatever works, folks. Hi National, how you doing? When it comes to meting out a punishment, would be let me just go up here so you guys can actually read this, especially those of you just coming in. It would be cool if the tails grow back, yet the wings never do. So cutting the tail is a severe punishment, but one that fades over time. But wingless is horrible. Really cool lore idea there, actually, because I do think that having both of them chopped off works, as a sort of punishment, not just one over the other. So having one be one that is more impactful and tragic, I like that idea. Zava does as well. Pretty cool. I think that's one I'm gonna remember and store in my brain, National. So, but I don't need to store them in my brain because I'm gonna be looking through the VODs after stream anyway and making a note of all of these. So not all reptiles regenerate a tail, or maybe the old reptile didn't do a bad thing. Maybe he was ganged up on by a bunch of humans and they cut off his wings and tail to make him more human. Oh gosh, yeah, that's awful, isn't it? How that makes humans very scummy as well, and I think we definitely need to do that to show that. I think showing the scummy side of humans is very is something we want to do in this story. But we also need to make some humans very likeable as well, like our friend that's potentially going to be executed. Because if we make humans too horrible, then we're just going to be a reptile sympathiser through and through, and all the players all go for the reptiles in when they play this. But yeah, if we make some humans extremely likeable characters as well, and you know, that just makes it more complex. But that's pretty dark and awful and awesome, like awful in a good way. Good, yeah, anything that's like tragic and makes characters seem really horrible and make us hate them is always a cool thing. Gonna head off, but take care, Linda. Thanks for hanging out and joining in with us. Always a blast to have you here. It is very dark scenario, but gangs of people are like that when they don't like something, yeah. And as you know, if you're thinking of dark things, guys, don't hesitate to say, because I am all for it. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, the game's PG. We can't have that, because the game is sort of PG at the moment, but in all honesty, I don't think it's gonna stay a PG game. Because it limits us creatively if we have to put an age rating on our game. I don't even think it's PG. I mean, it could be PG-13 at the moment. I mean, we've got Rose in a cage as a captive, and that's a little bit dark, but we'll definitely go darker than that. And the whole romance side of things, we're having brothels in our game, so it's an older teen or adult game, that's for sure. Despite its cute aesthetics, it's an older teen or adult game. Yeah, I think that's a cool idea too. Now, I'm really glad you guys are throwing ideas at me, and I'm not going to be able to get them all in here today on stream, because we'll be here, we won't have had time to discuss the other stuff, but expect to see a few more boxes here of cool ideas. I mean, we might not even be able to fit all the boxes on here, so if that's the case, I'll make a separate document with ideas for this plot, because it feels like we've had so many cool thoughts and ideas on this, just this particular small little box. And I think it's because it's got such potential. And there's been new ideas that have come from it as well, like the cutting off the tails and the wings and all this awful dark stuff. It's super good. I'm excited. And we also have this idea here, just putting more focus back to that. We have the idea of a pilgrimage, folks, where reptiles, this was Zexian's idea, reptiles make a pilgrimage once every few years, and that could have been why the humans took the village from underneath them, because the village was empty at the time because the reptiles were away on the pilgrimage, which makes it really awful that they'd take advantage of that situation and invade the land at that time. It would also mean that there wouldn't have had to have been a war or a battle at that time, which is probably a good thing, because we don't want to be too repetitive and have two wars, because we've already got the war that happened 17 years ago. So I'm guessing that the humans invaded maybe even some time before the war. Maybe things escalated once the reptiles returned from their pilgrimage, and that stuff will flesh out at some point as well. I'm just going to have a look and see if there was any other notes I had on the reptile story in particular before we move back onto the Everbloom Forest spell, and talk about the tree characters. But I think we've really talked about some really cool stuff. Okay for the fruit, maybe some of the good fruit can be found by the player but have a hidden verbal increase each time the player eats one of the good fruit, and if you eat too many it'll trigger a negative effect. Maybe force a quest chain to find a cure. Interesting. I definitely think the idea of fruits with side effect is really cool. It can be really interesting creatively, narratively, and potentially very dark and twisted, but it can also be really cool in that way as well, that the player can personally have effects as well, not just the NPCs from it. And finding the cure could be quite cool. I'd be interested to see where that sort of side quest could go, so I'm gonna make a note of that one too, and we can discuss more ideas for that at some point. So are we okay with R-rated stuff then, or just older teen? I'm not gonna say no to R-rated stuff if there's gonna be an opportunity to tell a great story. With that, then I'm not gonna be like no. I mean, I don't want to throw R-rated stuff in for the sake of it, just to be edgy or anything like that. If it brings meaning and impact, then yes, we should have that. So it'll all depend on the ideas we come up with and what works. But with the things we've been chatting about, I honestly feel like wings getting cut off, fruits with really awful side effects, there's some really dark themes there, so we definitely going towards an older age category with our game, and I think it's going to make it better, in all honesty, to have that. And Mid-Sega, thank you so much for that sub, 4 months. I appreciate that. I love your stream, thank you. Let's have some hype in chat, everybody, for that sub. I appreciate that support. And guys, I'm just going to mention again, if you're not a sub in the channel, make sure you get an ad blocker, okay? Because Twitch have gone mad, basically. They've lost the plot. Ads are going to be on streams halfway through randomly at any time from now on, more than likely, unless they decide to change their minds. So make sure you get an ad blocker so that your viewing experience doesn't get interrupted. And also, I'm going to just remind you folks, because I know there's quite a lot of you here right now, and I want to make sure, have you voted on this poll, everybody? Before we carry on making notes, we have a poll. It's something new I'm starting, everybody. RPG question of the week. It's actually our hashtag. It's our special hashtag, this is. It's going to take over the world. But yes, I'm going to be doing this question thing of the week. It's for fun, but it's also so everybody gets excited and pays attention to our Twitter as well. And it's also to find out information of what's the coolest from the general population, that goes beyond just our community. So we've got 35 votes so far on this one. I think it'd be really cool if we can get to 50. So it closes in 3 days, so this stream and Friday's stream I'll be reminding people that pop in to make a vote on that, because this is a good first question, hunter or warrior, because that's the classes you can choose between as the player in this game. I want to see what's the most popular right now. The one that isn't as popular, I'm going to purposely try and make sure we give it really good skills, which I think we have, in all honesty. I think the 4 starting skills we've got for warrior are excellent. It's going to be interesting. Hope they change their minds, and I do too. I really hope they have a second thought about that one, because it's really going to negatively impact creators and their community growth, and even just the viewers. Everyone's going to get annoyed watching and stream. It's not going to be a nice experience. I can't vote on that one. They're both cool classes, but if it's any help, I would play Warrior first, then Hunter second, if that data is ever any use to you. Thank you, National. Why won't it let you vote? That's fair. Is Twitter being a silly Billy? Okay, so not everybody has a Twitter though, so if you want to vote, then you do have to have a Twitter. The good thing about Twitter is polls can get beyond just our community, so it gives us a chance to get a wider range of results than if it was just a Discord poll. So for things like this, I think Twitter polls are really cool for obviously for important story and game ideas. The Discord polls are the way to go. Plus the Twitter polls are very limited. You're only allowed 4 options. And but yes, 35 votes. Thank you for everyone that has voted. That's not a bad amount, but I'd love us to get to 50 by the end. We got a bot in our channel again. We gain a lot of bots lately, everybody, I have to say. Top Bra, thank you so much for that raid. How are you doing? Coming in just as a band of bots. How are you doing, Top Bra? How did your stream go? How did it go today? Let's give a shout out. Tell us what you was up to with your game, Top Bra. And everybody, make sure you have a look head over to Top Bra's channel. Check out his game that he recently released on Steam. Fates of Vault. It's very pretty, very cool. Very cool game. All good. How you stream was good, just having connection issues. Oh no. Silly tech issues. Silly tech issues. I hope that that gets sorted out for you, because there's nothing more frustrating. That's for sure. But thank you for bringing your community over here. Thank you very much. Just as a reminder for everyone coming in from Top Bra's stream, or anyone just popping in, we have got a really cool poll up on our Twitter, so I want to get votes. So there we go. Feel free to throw us a vote on the poll, everybody, if you do have a Twitter account, and it'll help us get some cool results and help us know how to shape the game or make certain things more appealing. And I'm gonna let you guys in on a little, before we carry on with the story suggester, then I'm gonna just let you in on what next week's poll is gonna be. Human or reptile? So I want to see who's team human and who's team reptile. That's another question I'm really interested in. So that's what the next one is going to be. And if anyone has any question of the week ideas for the future, let me know as well. I was thinking of a story for my game. Would you mind if I say every time, just to really let me know what you think? Oh my god, Top Bra, that makes me laugh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you get that, Top Bra, or is it just because I assume a lot of creatives will get people asking them for requests for free and all that stuff, but my goodness, I get it a lot more than I thought I'd get, for my size. I get it a lot more than one would think, which is pretty crazy. And most of the time, a lot of the time, it's complete randos who I don't recognise the name of. And probably haven't really been in my stream. Sometimes it's been people who have been in the community for a short time but have realised that that's not what I do. So once they do, they leave then, and they're never to be seen again. I do it to Rose all the time, but she never complains. You know what? Actually, not that much. I've kept the story dialogue writing off stream because writing live was making me self-conscious, so maybe that's why. Maybe. Because it's mostly story. If anything, it's people asking for help with stories, not so much development, because I think people know I'm not really a coder, so people don't ask me that because I wouldn't be any help at all in that regard. How you doing, Watery Heart? It's good to see you. Look at that cute emote. Welcome. I hope you had fun in Top Bra's stream. Thanks for coming by with the raid. A raid and writing requests. Oh no, I missed a lot. What is the writing request? Oh yeah, we're talking about folks that email me a lot and message me a lot asking me to help them with their game and stories, etc. I mean, I'd love to help people. I just don't at the time. It's not realistic when you're making such a when you've got such a humongous project as a commitment. So let's face it, if that's what I did, if I helped all these people, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't get the time to do it. So it's either one or the other, I'm afraid. And unfortunately, not everybody understands. Some people are like, "What do you mean you're not going to help? That's it. I'm going. You don't care about me." And I do a lot. I let people promote their game in my stream, and I let people talk about their games in my Discord. So I feel like, I do a lot for people as it is, and nobody should take advantage any more than that, I feel. I'm doing okay, thank you. How's it going? Not bad, Watery Tart. So I'm just going to give one more link to this, and that will be it then for this poll. I'm not going to keep pestering you all, but there we go. So, cool poll to vote on. It's a really fun poll. You're missing out. And now we will go back to our story. Because this week, guys, well, we started it last week actually. We've started an event on our stream called Story Suggest-a-thon, which is a bunch of streams that we do where we come up with the story parts of the game for the rest of the episode 1 of Raindrop Chronicles, all the new content, story ideas basically, and we're coming up with like lots of potential ideas, God forbid, reptile human romance, and we're mind mapping and getting all our thoughts together, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been loads of fun because we've talked about some really cool things, haven't we, chat today? Today in particular, I think, has been a really, really cool idea sharing stream. Like, there's literally other streams that ask people to submit stuff, so they just need to find a different community. Yeah, there's people out there who actually have that as their sort of job and what they do, and have a Patreon where they offer help for being a patron, and those are definitely the communities to be a part of. That's not something I offer, unfortunately. Did you see what I said about the herbalist? Should I repost it? Oh, did we miss it because of the raid, Sexy? Let's have a look. I've scrolled back, so I would vote for keeping it an older team, but if Rose wants to make it R-rated, I'll live. If the herbalist is going to be an optional PC, then maybe overdosing on good fruit is the way to trigger his quest chain to unlock him. Oh, well, the herbalist is a lady, just so you know. It's Finchfish's character. I think Finchfish's playable character would make a good potential side quest unlockable playable hero. I like the idea of people having to, find the secret of unlocking that particular character. I can't think of anything that would make that character be on the main quest chain right now, but if something works for them being on that, then yes, it all depends. But that sounds good, because we want to sort of naturally introduce that character. We don't want it to be forced. So something like that could work, Sexy. And at some point when we have an NPC stream, that will be a topic of discussion. The community submitted characters that can make their appearance in the game in episode 1. Because we already know this character is. That's why we've got a picture of him here. He's one that's going to be in episode 1, and there'll be others, and it'll all be about deciding which ones are the best fit and will work. So yes, coming up, we'll probably talk about the herbalist and others at that point, because I feel it makes sense for the herbalist class to come when we're actually in a forest surrounded by herbs and things like that. So yeah. First, I force Top Bra to read my scripts, do you? Kappa. That means you don't. Because it's sarcasm, that's what that means, yeah. Good on you, Rose Rainbow. I like your attitude, it's really firm. I don't really offer upon that level of advice either, but I think I'm more evasive in my response than you are. Oh, thanks, Top Bra. I think it's about getting that balance as a streamer, because I don't want to be this intimidating figure either where everyone's scared of me, where I'm like super firm, but I want to still always be friendly and approachable and welcoming and nice. But also I think we have to, as creators, have develop a bit of a spine, because otherwise people will walk all over us. And not you guys, of course, because you guys are lovely, you wouldn't do that to me, but there's always people out there that will. So so there are entire subreddits that will read your ideas and give advice for free. No reason to bother streamers about it. Yeah, I know. I mean, in a way I'm flattered, because if people are coming to me asking for story tips, it means that they think I'm actually good at that. So that's one good thing about it. But yeah, it's not realistic. It's definitely not realistic. Most people that have been in this stream for more than 10 minutes will probably start to realise how, time consuming a project like that is. So I would be more concerned getting advice from streamers, because they could take your good idea and run with its consent. Yeah, that's an interesting one too. I mean, my opinion in regards to taking ideas is that ideas are 10 a penny. What's important is execution. So I personally don't fear being a sort of streamer that talks about ideas and broadcasts all my plot ideas live, because if someone is in here and they're like, oh, that's good, I'm going to take that, I'm going to do that story that Rose has just said on the stream, more for them, I say, because how would they make that work with their story? Like, it's all about execution. Someone could have a good story idea but completely botch it and make a right mess out of it, because it doesn't actually work with their game's world or plot, and they might not even make the dialogue that good or the scene work that good either. So it's all about, I feel like, not 10% idea, 90% execution. I feel like that's really it. Still my good ideas, Daddy. Oh yeah, exactly, Van, as well. They have to make it. Some people could be like, yeah, I'm going to steal Rose's idea, and that's a really cool story, I'm going to steal it right now and put it in my game. But then they'll just give up, because you got to have the passion and determination, after all, to actually stick with a story and release it and put it out to the world. And let's catch up with chat. Let the one we need Rexecuted. Yeah, I love the Rexecuted pun. I love it so much. That was Met's idea. Be a woman and be a cool female ranger that we've met and even fought alongside, and have her had killed both the reptile and her own brother behind one of the buildings while two were hugging, and then we'll have a difficult decision on our hands. Oh, interesting that you mention it be a woman, because that could work too. I think right now we'll leave it open. We won't make any firm decisions on who this human NPC attacker is going to be, but I like that thought. And I think when the time comes with who they're going to be, might do some polls to set that in stone. But yeah, feel free to share your ideas on the human attacker and what they could be like. I've put in that they're a sibling, because I honestly feel like that just works so well that it might only make sense for them to be a sibling. I don't even think we need a poll for that one. But yeah, feel free to say everything. I'll make sure all those your ideas are are recorded so that they'll be in future polls. I'm already excited for the poll extravaganza, and it's still a way off yet. We've got a ton of story suggestathon streams to do before we get all those polls up. Intimidating is okay. Okay, so that's a good point. Actually, execution versus just an idea itself, yeah. And that's, in all honesty, if anyone's wondered, if anyone here has thought, oh my goodness, how come Rose is okay with sharing all her cool ideas in front of people that might steal them, then that's my answer. It's the fact that I'm a believer that execution's what matters. And anybody could have a great and wonderful idea from somebody and try and steal it, but completely botch it and not do it as good as I am. So they can try to copy and do it, but I know mine's the original and mine's going to be the one that's going to be the best. So we can do a poor man's version of it if they want. Yeah, the project is what actually makes the books, but I find that working as a team gets far more done. True. And speaking of product, what platform is the game being released to? 100% Windows PC. It's a cert to be on there. As for any other platforms, it's just a question mark at this point. If you want to look at my press kit, guys, because I recently did this, actually did it last night. If you want to have a look, it's got all important information on there, like platforms and any key things. And I don't know if it'll be on anything else. It'll all depend if it's possible. But definitely Windows PC. Pardon me. I was doing a burp. That's why I enjoy helping you with story. Yay! Get executed. You know, I love now that Rex's character's called Rex because it's just fit perfectly with the whole execution thing. Like, how perfect is that that's just worked? We've got an execution storyline involving Rex's character, and we've got the word Rexecution now. It's the best. And I don't think Rex will even know about this because he's like a work lurker in my stream, so I'll have to tell him afterwards. Okay, it's going to be on the Atari. LOL. I'm going to buy an Atari now. RPG Maker can be deployed to Windows, Mac, Android and Linux, though the OS that Rose uses is most likely the main one because it's what Rose can be debugged for, yes. And I'm Windows, so that's why I know it's on Windows 100% because I actually have a Windows PC. As for Mac and Linux, maybe, I'd love to do it. All honesty, there's a chance it will be on both of those, but I can't promise it right now, and I'm not going to say it is because it could bite me on the butt. Could turn out that it's too much of a headache to test on those. So right now I'm not going to say yes, but it's a maybe. It's a definite no for mobile though. There's absolutely no way Raindrop Chronicles will be able to be on mobile because it's too demanding. We have seamless open maps, for example. And it's it's a bit of an illusion of open world in a way that it's designed, so it's just not gonna be possible to pull that off on mobile because of memory. But this is an RPG epic. I don't personally think the nature of the game fits for mobile anyway, because we're very inspired by your traditional RPGs and some of those like your Mass Effects and your Witchers. I know that it's a 2D JRPG game visually, but I'm still very heavily inspired by some of those RPGs, so I don't think the nature of it fits for mobile. Well, I meant it will be just a downloadable EXE, or is it a Steam, Epic or other? Oh, what platform's it going to be on, you mean, Zava? Well, I'd love it to be on Steam. I think, like, without a doubt, that would be the dream and what I'd like to aim towards. But if it can't be on Steam, it'd probably be on something like itch.io, I believe it is. You know, so one of the two. You have a press kit, Rose. Rose, why didn't you mention this sooner? Because I only did it yesterday. I decided it was about time that I did it, and I feel like way more professional all of a sudden for having a press kit, and I think it's a long time coming. I think, like, the fact is our game will never get talked about by anybody unless we have a pressed kit. So now that we've got one, who knows? Someone might write an article. That'd be pretty neat. Looks nice. We're super professional. Yeah, you would need some friends with the platforms to help you do that kind of testing. Yeah, and I do believe that there are people out there that might be able to, but I'm not gonna like count on it, if you know what I mean. We'll wait and see. Once we get the first playable build out, then things will become a lot more clear on who's willing to be a tester and all that sort of thing. I've got Linux if you need me to test. Awesome, Diver. It's awesome to know. And I mean, we've got a decent community size here. I think there's every chance we'll have a Linux tester. I'm not sure about Mac though. I know Azrael is Linux, so he might be one who'd be Linux too, but we'll see. I don't want to force anybody. I know we're all busy people with lives, but yes, people that are up for testing, yes, keep your eyes peeled, because there'll be some announcements about that in the near future, in towards the end of the year when we release the first playable build. Rose will be selling the IP to EA. That's a master plan, not a plan. You guys know I hate capitalism and everything. Like, I hate it that much. Like, Twitch, like, I adore Twitch for making me discover my dream and meet all of you, but I'm very disappointed with the recent developments so much that I'm scrapping the Twitch community made RPG subtitle. Don't want to be associated with them anymore. So, which is a bit silly, because of course I am. If I'm streaming on Twitch, I'm always going to be associated with Twitch, but I don't want the name of the game to be so strongly associated with it. So I said earlier in the stream, and I'll say it again because more of you are here now, we're going to think of a good title for episode 1 in the coming weeks. We're going to go for a cool subtitle thing for each of the episodes. It's not going to just be called Raindrop Chronicles episode 1 or Raindrop Chronicles episode 2. That's boring and uninspiring. So we're going to have like some fancy subtitles, like just like how the Legend of Zelda series do it. Like, you know, they have subtitles for all of their games. We'll do something similar to make our episodes memorable and just far more fascinating. So we'll eventually have some suggestions in chat for titles when the time comes. I feel like it's best to think of those names for the subtitles when we've done the story suggest of them, because we'll have more of an idea of the themes and the sort of vibes that the episode's giving us from the setting and quests that we make and all these little mini stories. So because in all honesty, we want the episode's names to link in with the episode itself and the theme and setting and stories of that each episode. So it's going to be some very foresty, Everbloom, enchanted sort of, you know, along those lines with whatever we decide the title to be of episode 1. The execution. Well, I'm not surprised that one's got mentioned. The Rexdemption. If only Rex knew we was talking about him like this, he'd be so shocked. He'll be so shocked when I tell him. Capitalism ruins the lake. Capitalism bankrupts a farm. Oh my goodness. But yes, I mean, we could go either way when the time comes when we start giving ideas. But I very much imagine it's going to be very, very focused on the fact we're in a forested, very humble, enchanted place in Everbloom. That's the feels of episode 1, and we want people to get that sort of get that idea from when they see the game's logo and read the name of it. Sort of get an idea of what we're going for here. So, capitalism's execution. My goodness. My goodness. Okay, so where are we? We still got over an hour of stream left. And as a reminder, guys, I'm going to try my hardest to start streams a bit earlier from now on the proper 2 p.m. start that I say our streams are, because I usually am a bit late, to be honest. But I want to try and get in as much stream as possible from now on each of the days I stream. So I'm going to be doing that 2 p.m. start as close as possible from now on. Right, so where were we? I'm going to just have a quick look at my notes again, everybody. So, and see if there's anything else to talk about before we move back onto the spell. The only other thing really is the baby reptile story. So I'm going to just make a note of that here, because we know that that's going to be one, because we've kind of set it in stone. We'll just pop that one here. And I know that there's been more ideas mentioned, like we've got the reptile with the wings and tail getting chopped off, that's another, and there's probably others too. But I'm going to add those off stream probably once I've looked through all the notes and ideas you guys have in the VODs, because we won't get a chance to move on to this stream otherwise. So this idea is baby reptile. We need a cute emoji for the baby reptile though, so I'm going to put baby in, or reptile. I mean, we don't have a clue what the baby reptile's going to look like yet, because we haven't designed it, but for now we'll just we know it's going to be probably green now, because his daddy's green. And I feel like it works that most of the reptiles in the Everbloom Forest are green reptiles, because the area's very green with the trees and the forest, so naturally they would have evolved and to like live in to be of that setting, like for camouflaging and that sort of thing. So I feel like green reptiles actually, funnily enough, work best here, because there's going to be reptiles of all colours. Chubcheek's reptile's actually a purple reptile. We have no idea where he originated from, if he's purple. That's a question. Where in the world would you be from if you're purple, I wonder? Because I feel like it makes sense that the colour of what reptiles are, their scales, sort of come from where they was born and all that sort of thing. Because there's got to be a reason for that kind of thing. We don't want to just be like, oh, the purple just because the purple, or the green because the green. We actually think deep with why things are the way they are here in this game. So 2 p.m. Thursday to 5 p.m. Friday from now on. Oh no, I don't stream on Thursdays. Just Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays are the stream days, everybody. And it'll be 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So I'm going to try and get a full 4-hour streaming for us all. Because lately it's been like more like a 3.5 hour stream, or even a 3-hour stream, because I've been an hour late sometimes. So yes. Cute green emoji for the baby reptile. Ah, it won't let us put that in here though, will it? Because it's a Twitch emote, not a not a normal emote. Okay, so the son, the hijacker of the reptile that kidnapped Carol's family has a baby. I think that's all we need to say for now. Hang on. Oh no, there's more. He resorted to such crimes. He has resorted to such crimes so he can provide for his family. I think that's really the gist of it. So if anybody does have any ideas from that particular plot too, that's something to consider. I know a few things were thrown around in chat. So I will review the VOD afterwards to make sure I've not missed anything important. But other than that, I think I've covered the main ones. There might be more, because there might be some elements I could do more boxes for from other ideas you guys have had over the last few streams. But we're going to do this again on Friday. I feel like we're having way too much fun to stop right now. So we're going to do more of this on Friday, so you might see a few more ideas on here on Friday. But we've talked about the reptile side of things a bit lately, so maybe we should move back onto the spell. My goodness, exciting times. So the spell stuff is a bit developed. We've got a few articles on the Lore Bible concerning the spell, and we also have a YouTube video about the spell as well. So it's all the reason why Carol the Barrel, all her family, and all the trees, the living trees and fruits of the forest are even alive in the first place. And it's been a gradual thing. It's only happened recently in the last 12 months, and every 3 generations a group of things have come to life every 3 generations. And we have a timeline on the Lore Bible, actually. If you go on the Lore Bible, folks, if you haven't seen it yet, and some of you may have already seen it if you've looked at the Lore Bible enough, we have a timeline on the homepage called The Lives of Carol and Her Family, I think it's called, and that will actually link you to what's been happening over the last 12 months and the order that the barrels have come to life. And obviously there's other characters as well. There's not just Carol and her containers. There's these as well, the tree in the central outfall, Father Maple and Stumpy, and the fruits. Now we've already talked about the fruits a little bit. We've talked about the idea of them having sort of doing a trade with Fiona for Rose and giving Fiona some sort of fancy non-sentient fruits as a reward for giving Rose to them. And we've thought of the idea of having those fruits have potential disastrous side effects within them because it's fun and the fruits are evil, so they totally would have done that. So we can write that down there for the fruits at some point. We've got other characters to talk about too as well, and then we also have characters like Rose to talk about as well. There's a lot to talk about with Rose. So at some point, once we've finished all the discussions about these 2 events, we'll actually start discussing the actual NPCs such as Rose, Fiona, Nigel, and start creating new NPCs too, and thinking about those a little bit more. Saying you're going to stream for 27 hours, you know me and jokes, Axion. You know that I don't get them and I'm a slow one. Purple is a royal colour, yeah. So it actually fits with him. That is, because he is a reptile who's motivated by money. That's why that's why he did the spell in the first place. I mean, if you've watched the lore video on YouTube, that's probably the easiest thing to watch if you don't want to read the articles. But it talks about that antagonist, and it's pretty clear he's doing it for the money, and that is Chub Cheeks. So purple equals mountains, red equals fire lava place. Ooh, interesting, because we're going to have all these different biomes and places, so it's interesting. The desert reptiles would probably be more like a sort of sandy orangey colour maybe, because I'll probably, I mean, I know Chub Cheeks mentioned that some reptiles could live in the desert, because the desert's sort of the poor area because it doesn't get raindrops distributed, the sort of the forgotten section of the world, because they don't get raindrops and nobody cares, and lots of like poor people have gathered there to survive, and reptiles could realistically be part of that because they're an oppressed race. So I think he talked about a bit about his character spending time in the desert and stuff at some point, so I'm gonna have to expand on those Lore Bible character sheets at some point as well, because some characters have a bit more info to be added. Okay, so who are we going to start with first? We've got 4 different characters here. I guess with the fruits there's 5, so but we all class them as all in one, so I guess it's just thinking about who to talk about first, because there's some really cool things to discuss with these guys. And we've only really talked about the fruits out of these 4 so far, but we'll save them for last because we've got 3 other people to talk about. People, well, I suppose they are people now if they're alive, but they're actually trees. Stumpy's a tree. He's just a tree stump is all. I'm gonna get their assets in as well, just so there's a context to who we're talking about. So we'll start off with the tree in the central Lakefall. I think that's a good starting point because it's such a huge landmark of Lakefall and the Everbloom Forest. You know, it's such a big thing, and we see it very early on. As soon as we're thrown into this game, we see this tree. I will get a screenshot of it because I want you guys to see it. So I'm going to open Tiled and take a screenshot of the tree in there. Born from an egg, hatches and is self-sufficient at birth, but they can't talk very much yet. Maybe they're drawn to anything and everything that can talk and stays where there's language being spoken, so they can learn quickly. Oh yes. Yeah, so I'm assuming you're talking about the baby reptile national there, but I definitely can see this going in a direction where they're born from eggs. It just definitely seems from a lot of the ideas thrown that that's going to be the way that they're born, and that could work too. So yeah, feel free to talk about the baby reptile still, even though we're moving on to the tree now. Don't hesitate to talk about that still, because that still matters, and we'll have some important thoughts and notes about these things. Right, so here's Tiled. This is the tree in the centre of Lakefall, everybody. So it's the biggest landmark of the whole place. Of every map we've done so far, I don't think there's a bigger landmark than that tree. So it's very important. It's going to have a strong history and lore. I've got a few initial notes on this tree, and I'm going to write those down today, and we'll see where we can develop it from what the notes that I've got. But there's nothing else so far that stands out more than that tree. I mean, we'll probably expand on the Everbloom Forest at some point, and there could be more cool landmarks at some point. I mean, we're going to have Father Maple down here somewhere, and we'll talk about him in a sec as well. So he's also going to be a landmark to some degree. Right, so I'm going to, right, let me open Photoshop and open this asset. And then we'll talk about him. Humans are born from eggs. Plot twist. Oh my goodness. Is there any reason there's not a bridge to the left of the tree? Could do. I mean, I mean, in all honesty, if we want to make it easier for us to go to one place to another, that could be something we do. I think in all honesty, it's because I guess I saw it as like, my initial thought was that, you know, you have to leave Lakefall, to exit and leave, you have to sort of pass the graves in the tree as a sort of sign of respect. But if that could still be possible there, I mean, we've got a grave in the way, but we can always get rid of that one if we have to. I mean, it'll make things easier so we don't have to, you know, walk to get to one side of the forest from the other. So yeah, we could do that. We could totally add that bridge now I'm thinking about it. And yeah, as a reminder, I did make the building shorter as well, guys. That's slightly shorter. They don't look as tall now. Okay, so you know, it's hard to keep your privacy when you're a major landmark that towers over the landscape. Oh no, the poor tree, right? He wants to be left alone. He might do, but he's so predominant to this forest. He's gonna be a big deal, this tree is. I'm looking forward to talking about him because we really haven't really talked about him much at all yet. So it'll be the first time we do properly. Okay, so I'm just getting his asset prepared in Photoshop, everyone, just so we can drag him into Drawing, because I think it's going to just be better if we got a picture of him. Okay, so actual size. Okay, so let's just hide those for now. Here we are, we're back in the it's a bit of a big boy, but to be honest, we've got plenty of notes on him, so we'll probably need a lot of space anyway. I can see us talking about him for a little bit, so we'll move those guys down a bit lower. And of course, if we get any ideas coming from him as we talk about him, I'll do some boxes as well, just like we have hit for the reptile side of things. Okay, so let's get some text in first of all. All right, so we still got plenty of time to talk about this. So I'm hoping, yeah, I'm sure we can talk about the tree for the rest of the stream, and we might even get a chance to talk about Father Maple and Stumpy, but we'll see. So I've got some notes, so I'm going to just get those up on my secret Google Doc. Okay. So again, just like the other story I had about, you know, the forbidden romance with the killing, the Rexecution that you guys ended up coming up with. Brilliant. Met, thanks for the Rexecution thing. We love it. We're falling in love. It can be everything. It's going to be an obsession. I can see it happening. So I'm going to just bring some main points about this tree. And yeah, feel free to chat about it as I write things. So, tree in the Central Lakefall, yes. So there's a few things that were set in stone a very long time ago about this tree. In a couple of polls that we did, but it's all very, very, very up for being developed further at this point. So I'm just going to get in the main things we know first. We know it's a good tree. That's all I'm going to say. Like Father Maple, the one that's down here, he's like an evil version. Like an evil version of this tree. So we'll talk about the evil version a bit later. But we'll talk about the good one now. So he also doesn't have a name quite yet, but I'm sure that'll be something we do potentially as one of the poll questions for him, his name. So I have like a basic idea for a name, but we could get even better than what I've got. Town defence, control of it, visitor traffic, less maintenance and aesthetics, seeing good reason for the bridge how it is, and maybe there could be a legend about approaching groves from the north and from the west that could be a superstition. Ooh, that is a very, very cool lore thing and a reason for why the bridge is only on the east. I like it, National. So yeah, because of that, I'm inclined to keep it as it is because there's something really appealing about that lore. We might have a poll if necessary, if people feel that there should be a bridge on the other side. Well, if we're getting a bit of a conflict, then we can do a poll for that one. But yeah, I really like that idea that there's a legend, because I'm all for legends. Legends are fun. I mean, this tree itself is a legend, so I'm going to say that he has many legends surrounding him. I mean, he's such a landmark, and he's like in the centre. All the greys happen to be around him, you know. This tree is important, I think. There's no doubt about that. Otherwise, he would have been chopped down a long time ago. He has many legends surrounding him and books written about him. You guys have said a few times during streams that you love the idea of notes and books inserted into the game, like naturally, like if there's a library or a bookcase somewhere, and texts, all that cool thing about having like in-game text, reading books to find out stuff about the world. I know many RPGs do it, so it's an excuse to have stuff about this tree in books, I guess, if we want to find out more about him and build his lore. Well, we will be building the lore, but if we want to insert the lore that we make into the game, then we can always do it that way. Villagers of Lakefall see him as a protective guardian and should give him a special title or name. Now, we had a poll. The one and only poll we ever had on this tree was, I think, back in stream 1 actually, and we decided he was going to be a wise, like your traditional wise tree trope, that like has knowledge and all this sort of thing. And I've got a few ideas from that where we could go, so I'm going to get everything down, see where our thoughts take us. So I've got a couple ideas for his name could be. That's just my ideas. You folks might have even better ones. If we need to pull up a poll for enjoying the poll extravaganza for his name, then yeah, we will. So feel free, if you do have name suggestions that fit what this tree is, you can suggest them. But you might want to wait until we've actually fleshed him out a bit more. When on the timeline did these trees come to life? Oh, good question, Matt. I might mention that actually, funnily enough. So be patient, folks. All information's going to get put in. There's a lot of gaps to fill though. Like the fact that we know he's a sort of wise protective guardian is probably like the main thing here. There's so many gaps to fill in, but there's a few little initial thoughts I have had, so we'll see where we can take those. I'm gonna enter this now. Now this is what related to what Meta says. I'll get this in. So about the timeline, I'm not going to say he has, because it's speculation at this point in time. So I'm going to say he may have stood in Lightfall for even before the village. See, I should add this as an idea box, really. All depends. Anything that seems more like a sort of idea that I've written down here, I might transfer into a box at some point. But for anything we're not sure about, that I'll just word it as could or may. So, you know, if it's got could, he could have, or it may have, it means that it's not like set in stone yet. But if it's worded to make it sound like it is, then it already is set in stone. So he may have stood in Nightfall for, and even before the village existed. Now, there's also something very important to mention as well, because we know that this tree has a face, and it might be sentient now. Well, it is because of the spell, but it wasn't like that once upon a time. Let's just say that. So we'll get some more information down as well. Coming to life is around the same time as the fruits and barrels, right? Life meaning speaking and talking, people's legends aside about the tree itself. Yes, he is linked to the spell. So this tree, it has a face. It's come to life just during this time period of the spell. That's the reason it's sentient now, and it wasn't before, you know. I mean, it was probably very likely still a legend before it came to life, because it's such a large tree, and it might have actually still had the face before. That's something that we need to decide, whether it gained the face since becoming sentient, which seems more likely that it got the face after, but it's not a complete no that it always had the face, but just was like sort of not alive at that point. I mean, it kind of makes more sense if he did have a face even many centuries ago, because it wouldn't freak the villagers out as much then. They'd just see it as, oh, our guardian's he's talking now, he's here, he's helping us, he's guiding us. So they kind of see it as that, I suppose, if he suddenly started talking and his eyes open, maybe. I mean, his eyes are closed on this sprite, but we could always do a version where he's got open eyes, if we wanted to, if it fit, if it worked. But I guess if, you know, him coming to life and talking now, and becoming sentient is kind of a comfort. It's the one comfort these people have in these horrible times of fear. And there's a lot of weird things about it, because it coincides with the rest of the monsters of the forest coming to life, which is like, you silly villagers, can't you see that he's you know, there's some things to consider anyway. I meant to ask if he was alive as a tree the whole time, or if it was a talking tree from Bisbal. Oh, right, I can't even get my words out. If it was a talking tree. Yeah, he's become sentient because of the spell and started talking, just like the barrels talk now, just like the fruits talk now. He's talking and sentient because of the spell, just like everything else. But what he was like before the spell, he could have still had the face. It could have still been that legend of a tree that people sort of worshipped, but he definitely didn't speak. The speaking has only happened since the sentience. Just, you know, it just makes more sense that way, because it can just be a bit confusing otherwise if that happens to. Right, so He'll fruit someday, he'll light it on fire and burned for 3 days. Didn't have a mark on him after. Birds land on him and never leave. Words carved on his bark disappear the next morning. He never drops leaves. Leaves that you take off his branches never wither. His roots go down deep into the caves. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. The roots going down deep into the caves. Because we can't forget that the tree's parallel to that cave entrance. So, But I know that they're not actually... It's parallel. It's not part of the exact... It's not the same cave, but it is parallel, and those underground tunnels, where the graves and tree are directly parallel to the entrance. So it's going to be interesting designing the cave as well, that's for sure, because of those things. And I'd love to do that, like have roots and that coming down in the section where you know, he would be standing. That'd be super cool to do. Leaves that you take off his branches never wither. His roots go down deep. Yeah, he drinks the light water. It would be up to the cliffs without him here. If you fall asleep under him, you'll turn into a reptile. That's funny. Yeah, I love those ideas, National. I'm gonna definitely make sure I get those saved in my notes, because they could come in super handy as we develop this guy further. I think these face should have always been there, something that sort of resembled a face and not here and there, and a branch that started growing right in the spot, sparkling a bit more about the legend of the tree. Then after the spell he started talking from that area, and it was the most natural space to speak from. Yeah, I'm in agreement, Van, that the face should have always been there, and that's mainly because if the face didn't exist, why would he have been such a legend? He would have just been a boring old tree without the face, right? And it also for the reason that him coming to life wouldn't freak the villagers out as much then if he always did have the face. Because if the face has just appeared, they'd be like, what the hell? And they'd be mortified, they'd be horrified. But if they've grown up and lived in... all their ancestors in the forest, the books have all legends about him with this face, it's kind of like, oh my god, it's more like our god is finally coming to life then, and they see it as a positive thing that he's become sentient. Maybe we can make his face more animated when he's become sentient than it was originally. Like he might have just been forever like that before the sentience, but he might be a bit more, his face moves a bit more now since coming to life. But let's get some more notes in on him as well. Maybe it's part of the reptile religion. They carve faces into trees or grow them in a way that shapes them into faces. Yeah. And the reptiles lived in like fall first, so chances are it could have all come from that. It's going to be super cool to make this lore and write some history books together, guys, about this. But it makes it weird because it's like, so humans, if this tree was, if it's here because of the reptiles, or the reptiles carved him and all that, you know, maybe you should like the reptiles then if your precious tree was created by them. Okay, so even before the village existed, and perhaps I'm using a lot of maze and perhaps for things that aren't quite set in stone. So, and perhaps, but it's worth, I want to bring it up because it could bounce some ideas for you guys. And was perhaps the world's very first tree. You know, we got to make him sound epic, something like that could work. He always had a face, but only awoke and started talking in the last year. So yeah, only awoke since the spell, because it all has to link to this spell, like for the story to make sense. You know, that's why he really is sentient now. Will just cause a bit of confusion if we always have him as a living tree, you know. So it works best for our plot to do it that way. I only started talking in the last year. I have some ideas that, yeah, sure, throw them in the Discord if anyone else has some as well. if any, you know, always encourage that. We want loads of cool things. I'm excited. Okay, so and if anyone wants to throw any in the Discord ideas channel, feel free to as well, especially if you want the community to see and potentially come up with ideas from that too. But I guess being alive for so long before the spell gives him a degree of memory all that time. Being alive for so long before the spell, well, he wouldn't have been alive. He was, you know, maybe the villagers think he was always alive because that's what the books tell them. But, you know, the truth is he was probably just a boring old tree. You know, that's probably what the truth is. But yes, the spell is brought him to life, and that's obviously the villagers now will be like, oh, there he is. He's a god. He's real. He's the best tree in the world. He's going to save us all from the forest and the reptiles or whatever. Right, so he always had a face, but only awoke and started talking in the last year. What now? Because I've got a ton of notes here. He could offer, okay, so maybe a new paragraph for this one. One more batch from me. First kisses in front of him lead to marriage. Oh, I love all these like little myths and beliefs, and this could be really cool. Thanks, National. You've got some very cool ideas, you have, I have to say. Okay, so if you ask him for advice, you'll figure out what to do. Animals that play around his trunk are protected, don't hurt them. If he's ever angry, walk through as quick as you can. Any book you sleep under him, you'll remember perfectly for your tests. Cool, because what we're going to do at some point, we'll have a stream where we like literally write some history books on him, and we can put in all like these little myths and sort of legends about him in the books, and we can like even write full on mini stories if we want some short stories. And if you guys, I mean, I'll throw this out now, if you guys want to write a short story on a legend, I mean, we'll probably have to confirm the legends first, like National's ideas, for example. We'll make a list of them. We'll sort of do a poll, get an idea of which ones are the most liked and popular. And if anyone wanted to write some short stories, I would actually insert it into the game as a sort of readable book. That maybe in the end we'll have a bookcase and you can pick out books and read them. Sent you stuff on Discord. Awesome, yay. Ancient wizard got turned into a tree as a punishment. I can't speak. But over time people forgot until the spell partly freed him from his sleep. Or maybe that could be Father Maple, since then he could be up to the same tricks that got him trouble to begin with. Yeah, there's Father Maple as well, so that's going to be a fun one to bring up. But yes, he's the evil version, that's for sure. Write your short story and demand Rose help you improve it in the middle of her stream. LOL. Well, if it's for the game, then it's technically, you know, part of the project, so I'm not going to mind in that occasion. Okay, so but yes, feel free to continue throwing your ideas at me, guys. Some of them might be great. There might be an instance when I don't take on an idea, and in that's because it might clash with the sort of skeleton main plot I'm developing behind the scenes. So just so you know, sometimes I might not like develop something further, and that's because it's not possible because of a plot clash, because I am doing I'm developing a story skeleton, and it's sort of going to be very adaptable in honesty, because this is we're going to try and make sure that as much as possible we can collaborate together, but at the same time we need a structure so things don't get chaotic. Father Maple is too powerful and beats the party, and then this guy's got to get up and beat up Father Maple. Big tree battle. Yeah, I mean he's sort of rooted to the spot, this guy is, as far as we believe anyway, and especially if we are going for the thing where his roots are all like in the cows, it probably be pretty hard for him to move, but it's funny. That would be real comedy. If Father Maple and him just battled each other. Okay, so he could offer words of knowledge, wisdom, and guidance. And I know that you'd come up with some others as well, National. I'm going to just say the very boring ones here, just your plain old knowledge, wisdom and guidance ones, but yours are way more exciting and unique. So I'm probably going to get those listed as well in a box so that we can think about them as well, how to take them further. Because we want this tree to be so have so many really cool stories about it. We don't want him to be boring. Okay, so he could offer words of knowledge, wisdom and guidance. I'm going by, standard wise tree thing here. But when does he offer these words? Because he speaks, so he's going to say something, and we've got to consider what he actually says to us. So I'm gonna get my initial thoughts of that down as well. And yeah, of course, if you folks come up with something from what I'm writing, say, and at some point I'll make notes of that too. Okay, so he either when people walk past him, maybe when, that would make sense once they walk past him, because it's the entrance and exit out of Lakeville, so we could just speak then when you walk past him. Or when people touch him in a certain place, if we want to make it a little bit more secretive, like we actually have to interact with the tree and touch him in a certain place to say that. I think that's one idea. Or when the hero gives him a special item found in the forest. So yeah, those are 3 ideas. I'm actually going to break those up so that we can, those are just my initial ones, so I'm interested to know where we could go from that, and I think any of them could totally work, but it's whatever's going to be the best is the thing, So if we want to go for the most simple, it would be that one. If we want to be a little bit more, have it be a bit more less difficult to get him to talk, more difficult for him to talk, then we'd go for that one. And if we want it to be even more difficult for him to talk, we'd go for that one. Those are the ones that inspire the rest. Yes, exactly. And Father Maple is 2 powerful and beats apart. Yeah. Have a good one, chat. Have a good one, Raz. See you Friday. Oh, yeah, you take care, Zaxy. Thanks so much for hanging out. And we'll get some really cool stuff in here between now and next stream for you to see, I'm sure, Zaxy. You take care. Thanks for your awesome ideas. Super. I think today's been amazing. Had so many cool things suggested. I'm so excited. Okay, so, right, so there's a few more things to say that I think I need to get down. We're about halfway. We're about halfway through Father. No, he's not Father Maple. Tree of Knowing, or whatever we want to call him. And we're about halfway through. So, yes, there's way more to talk about. Juicy. Exciting. Okay, so he could... Oh, no, go away. Clicked on some I shouldn't have one. Fine. So he could. I'm going to take. Also, I will take a screenshot of what we've done and get it in the Discord probably before I go to sleep tonight if I can. Because I think we've got quite a lot of information on here, and I want you all to be able to see it as well. In case you want to read it off stream. And see everything all at once and not just in little segments on the screen. I think that since this is the beginning of the story, episode 1, talking to him should be an easier thing, yes. So it's all just going to be what works best, isn't it? But I like that I'm giving you guys the option to think, because you never know. You never know what idea has the most potential here. But for sure, that does work too. I'm totally happy with going for either of those 3 ideas. So we'll see. But we'll leave it there for now because we don't know what thoughts we'll have. But yes. Okay, so he could either be leaning on the side of good or true neutral, because I'm thinking of alignment now and his like sort of moral compass. We thought about a little bit about his history and what he used to be. We've thought about what he does, what his purpose is, and and that he offers words of knowledge, etc. But I want to expand a bit more on that bit in a sec as well. But actually think about what these words are, and I've got some thoughts on that too. But now I'm thinking about morally what he's like, and he's going to either be good or true neutral. He's not going to be evil because that's Father Maple. He's like sort of polar opposite to parallel. So I mean, there's no proof that this tree's good, you know. I mean, the villagers are like full believe he is, I'd say, because they sort of see him as some guardian, but he might be neutral. That's something we'll have to decide and see what's better, I guess, what fits most, because it could work, but one could end up better than the other, or more appropriate than the other. He could be willing to now I'm thinking about the words and what sort of stuff he actually does and how he helps. So he could be willing to teach the ways of the world, tell stories of the ancient. Right, so I'm gonna again make a list of these because it's just a lot easier to read like that. So I'm gonna list like anything he might do. And of course, if you guys have got any, feel free to say, and they might get potentially added here, or there might just be a potential idea. Okay, so tell stories of the ancient past, speak riddles, that was one that I thought could be interesting. But this is all just, again, I'm getting them down, but it's still just a could at the moment. It's a could, it's not like a cert. So it doesn't mean that we'll have him speak riddle, it's just an idea. We're going to see, we'll decide what one works best. Speak riddles, give enemy weaknesses. I mean, give weaknesses on the reptiles, maybe. I mean, if the reptiles were the ones he was living with originally, that'd be a bit mean. But maybe he gives enemy weaknesses based on whoever's living there. Or maybe it's the weaknesses of the monster of the forest. Because they're also enemies too. Have knowledge. Now, this one was an interesting one to me simply because it's a story of multiple branches where choices matter. So if there was ever a period like where we could clue in the player on something that's going to happen, like for example the forbidden reptile romance, the fact that there's going to be an execution, he could have knowledge of that event or in any other future events that we have. But we wouldn't like spell it out, of course, but we could like subtly give a sort of riddle or fortune on it. Grant wishes if we want to really do things, but what sort of wishes that'd be, I don't know. I mean, I doubt we could grant the wish peace and harmony for reptiles and humans. Probably not. May not work. Okay. makes more sense now. So once he starts talking, what does he think about the reptiles in relation to the humans? Does he try to prevent conflict, avoid interfering, or something else? Oh, good one. See, I'm gonna actually, I think I should expand on that down here, like actually what he does. Like, I think something like that's interesting. So I'm gonna say he could support. Like, it all depends. Like, if we go for a true neutral alignment with him, it could depend on what the hero's moral compass is, and really with what he does, whether he supports or tries to prevent conflict, or, you know, it all depends, maybe. So I'm going to get down. He could either... I'd say it'd depend on what your moral alignment as the hero is. So... argue with, like, if you've gone for an asshole type of hero, for example, like you're an uncompassionate, really horrible piece of work, he would probably argue with you. But if you've gone down the sort of good hero route, he'd support you. So advise even. Or he could even oppose you completely if you completely don't match with him. Which I'll say depends on how you're. Because I thinking about it, I think this tree's the perfect way to, like, sort of enhance the whole moral side of the game, and the fact that you can shape your hero's personality, and the nature of this character is kind of something that we could use to clue the player in on what their hero is becoming, because he's that wise tree of knowledge. There's so much potential with him, there's so much he can do, and so much so many different routes we could take him in. Like, that's what we've got, a big list of things he could do here. It's just so, like, flexible, and anything's possible with him, really, as long as he stays the sort of guardian. As long as we stick with him being that and not evil, then we're good. Human bear, at least you had the decency to travel with proper ladies. Young my, but are you something special? You two, what wisdom have you in need of these old fruits? Would he look at Carol kind of oddly being made of wood and all? Who knows? I mean, that's an interesting one too. I mean, we haven't really talked about how often Carol shows herself in public yet, because this Lakefall is a village full of NPCs, and they kind of are freaking about the forest coming to life, I guess. So we have to sort of consider how if Carol will very obviously show herself. I mean, we might just approach it in the fact that, oh, she'll just move when nobody's looking, if we want to just take the easy option, because we don't want to limit our Carol dialogues and scenes here just because she's not meant to be seen. We still want to have Carol be a focus, and, well, I guess we'll say that's something to talk about. Maybe humans have turned to him to having him act as a judge. Ooh, a judge, yeah. Like the one that makes decisions for them as well. That's possible too. So, make judgments. We could add that. 7. Make judgments. I always add an E in judgments, but it's meant to not have an E, isn't it? Hi Octopus, how you doing? So is the tree's dialogue sort of butterfly effect to what he says? How do you mean? I know what it means, butterfly effect, but I want just a bit of clarity there, because I don't want to tell you the wrong answer. So welcome now, Octopus. I hope you're doing fabulous. Right, so his fate could possibly be tragic Okay, so now I'm getting into some interesting stuff here, because I've got a few ideas for where his story could go if we want to actually link it into an actual story rather than just stand there and be an extra side thing. So if we want to actually link him into the story, we totally could do. I'm gonna make a box for this one though, because this is a story idea. So I think that, yeah, for story ideas I'm sort of making boxes, and for lore and for more lore related ideas I'm doing this sort of writing down here vertically. So idea, well, it's not forbidden romance, I just get what should we call this? I'm going to just put question mark for now, because I don't know what to call it. And we'll make the box blue, and we'll make the text blue as well, because this spell side is blue. There we go. Right, let me think of an emote we can put with it before we fill it in. Oh, okay, I know what emote to have for this one. Don't cry, everybody. I'm getting very dark again with my story ideas, so don't freak out. Okay, just be prepared, because this is a sad one. I'm going to just put question mark, because I don't want to give spoilers to what the idea is just yet. So I wasn't sure if with the he could, if that was depending on your story as what he says from a list, or if the list is just brainstorming. Oh yeah, we just sharing ideas at the moment. These are all just concepts and possible potential things we could have. I've made a list, so things like this he could is just what the tree might do, like what his special abilities are, and what, because he's this sort of symbol of guidance, and he talks, he's sentient, so he's going to have to do something. He's not going to just stand there and do nothing. So he's so, like, you know, there's so many possibilities we could take him that I thought, yeah, let's make a list of what he potentially could do. But it's all just thoughts at the moment. Nothing's 100% set in stone. Okay, so the story idea, and we've got time. We've got a bit of time before the end of the stream. His fate could. Now we might need a bigger box for this one. I bet you're wondering why there's an axe here. I did say that I'm going to be getting dark, so I've just tried to think of that. But, you know, multiple endings, right? Doesn't mean you'll get this ending. So his fate could be tragic. Possibly be tragic. And end with him, be prepared, being put down out of revenge or jealousy. Now obviously that would be a branch, like it might not be like the fate that he always have. There could be another branch where he's always standing and lives a happy life as a tree. But this could be one branch. I like to get in the mind of the tragic branch as well for story ideas, for the things that we have, because we are a game, an RPG that's going down the branching story route. So we've got to think of them, all the possibilities here. He seems like a good character to use as a benchmark of the player character's character. It could be interesting to have him comment on how much the party has changed if he talks them later on. Yeah, really a good way to sum it up, Matt. That's what he is, I guess. Because there is a moral compass system in this game with your hero. You shape him with the choices you make. So naturally, communicating with this tree, you could gain an idea of the person you're becoming from how he speaks to you. Like if he starts arguing with you, you know, or opposing you. Maybe you've gone a little bit beyond, you know, maybe you've turned into a bit of an asshole. But if you find the trees being nice and supportive and advising you, then maybe you're going more down a morally good path. Would it make sense to him to have remote communication with fairies, elves, or the other trees? Maybe him and Father Maple do communicate. That could be very possible. So it's going to be fun when we talk about Father Maple next stream and Stumpy, because I mean, maybe they talk to the fruits. I mean, I don't know. I think that could be interesting. So if there's any thoughts of how he would communicate with them, feel free to share. And axe could also be the trees killed, and the main makes what left in the axe as a memorial to him. Oh, see, this is something interesting. I mean, I don't know if this is what you was thinking, Octopus, because you've just made me think something now from what you've said. But I don't know if it's what exactly you was thinking, but it's sort of developed a thought in my mind. So I'm going to get that down now. The tree's fate should be part of the ending story info, kind of like Fire Emblem or Pathfinder Kingmaker, based on your choices. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I definitely feel we need a different fate for the tree. I think having a tragic ending for the tree and maybe a non-tragic one could be good. How it all comes about, we don't know. That's something to decide. But what Octopus says has made me think something, and I think it might be cool, that makes this a little bit less tragic. It sounds tragic right now, but listen, so let's get this down. Maybe he could, and I'm going to put maybe for now because we don't know, but I kind of like this. So maybe he could live on as what he later gets made into. Anything, literally anything that's made out of wood, because if he gets chopped down, the Lakefall villagers are going to use that wood for something, whether it's the reptiles that live in there at that time or the humans, we don't know, but they'll use it for something. Maybe they'll make him into a chair, or even something else. I don't know, something really stupid and small. But if it's something really stupid and small, if small enough, he could even become a carryable item the hero can take with him for the rest of the journey, which, I don't know about you guys, but there's a huge appeal in that to me, because that means the tree's with you for the rest of the whole game, all the other episodes. Like, you know, because obviously if he stayed alive, he's always got to remain in Lightfall, and when you go to other parts of the world, you don't get to talk to him anymore unless you've got a teleporting power. But this way, you actually have him in your inventory as a small little, whatever that piece of wood is, I don't know. Maybe it could be a wooden whistle, or I don't know, it could be literally anything. Could be a stick, a boring old stick if we wanted it to be. But whatever it is, he's living on in that, and he still does all these things and guides you for the rest of the journey. I kind of like that idea, and it makes it a little bit less tragic. Like, it's kind of a bittersweet thing. He got cut down, but he lives on, sort of thing. So I'm going to put that idea there because I think there's some potential with it. I think that ending is intriguing, and it could pay off a lot for future episodes, having this this guide with us. He's kind of becomes a big thing. He'll actually, if this is the case, if this is something we go with, he's actually becoming more key to the main story than we think, because he's not just a side thing in Lakefall. He becomes our actual guide as the player forever. But that would mean, if that was the case, we'd have to force this as part of the story if we were going to have him as a carryable guide throughout the game. Because if it was a branching path, that would mean only the people that cut him down would get him as a carryable item. So it's where whatever we think works best. Hi Green, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Sorry I'm so late saying hi. I've got into my rambles. Hi Asriel as well. Have been lurking. How about he's linked to the player's moral choices? Player leans more to bad, he begins to wither. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting too. Now, don't forget we've got Father Maple. So even if we can't do that with this guy, because we've decided to go down the cutting down route, we could always do that with Father Maple, because he's a secondary, but the evil version. And maybe if you're good, Father Maple withers away. We'll see, because there's a few things to think about with Father Maple too. But I like the idea, actually, how there's a potential there, and we can add that as an idea as well. Hit the tree with the judge from before, and to get his judgment, there was a tree speak person in town, making like they could hear the tree's wisdom, and wow, they're surprised now the tree actually talks back. They could be the jealous one. Yeah, I like that you're considering what makes them jealous as well, because that's a big question mark at the moment. If we're going to go for this story where he gets cut down, we don't know what the motive is or who the person would be who cuts them down at this point. It could literally be anybody that we want, so that's a cool one. I guess that's something to consider, like make a potential list of NPCs that could be the ones that do it. So it's good thinking that you're actually thinking of who it might be that's doing that. So we got a starting point and a starting idea from National there. So another thing he might get killed for is that the guy who cast the spell might decide his wood would be particularly powerful for some purpose. Yeah, that's a possible reason he could have got killed as well. I'm glad. I'm going to make a list of all these, and eventually we'll do a poll and decide who it actually is going to be, who's the killer. Unless like one of us come up with something where it has to be someone because it's just too perfect for the story for it not to be somebody. But if we're ever in the sort of feeling like, well, it could be anything, any of these several things, then we'll do a poll for it. Maybe the tree can talk to you throughout the game, like a box you carry or something. Yeah, like that's why, like when Octopus made me think of that. From what they said, I still don't know whether Octopus meant that, but it's what gave me this idea anyway, and it just made me think, like, yes, it could be anything. I think we should do a poll, and if we were going to go for this, which I'm a bit attached to, if I'm honest, if we were going to go for it, we'll probably do a poll on what he could be as an item. I'm reluctant for it to be a box simply because we've already got Woody, who's a box in the game, so I feel like we should make him distinguishable from any other character in the game. But yeah, anything's possible, anything small enough to fit. I mean, Vandit says alternative entry. We got Carol the Barrel as our inventory, so imagine if there were fighting over who's the inventory. I mean, it's much easier to just have Carol as our inventory, in all honesty, because I've kind of visualised the UI in the battle, so that Carol's the inventory box in battle is actually the shape of a barrel, to kind of show that Carol is our inventory when we fight. So it could make it just more complicated if we had more inventory types, but interesting. We had to talk about the hero didn't want to deal with Carol's attitude. So if Carol wasn't in the game, yeah, she's if we were gonna have, like, say Carol dies or something tragic happens to Carol at some point in the game, then we'd need another inventory. And maybe I mean, even if the tree was not really ideal for inventory because he's a an item that doesn't work as a holder type of item, he could like offer to be remade into something that makes him an inventory if Carol does die. Now, I don't like talking about that because Carol's the MVP and she can never die, but if we ever did do that, then, you know, I suppose we have to think of what would be the alternative inventory. I don't know the theme, but maybe a staff instead of an axe as a wise tree makes me think of a wise wizard. Yeah, I guess it just depends. I'm thinking of axe because if he's going to get chopped up and made into something else, that's what I visualise. And funnily enough, you know, there's going to be hunters that have bow and arrows and axe wielders. Villagers. I think that's kind of the theme we're going for, bow and arrow guys and axe wielders. Funnily enough, we get that choice at the start of the game if you want to be a warrior or a hunter, so it kind of works. We haven't really thought about spellcaster NPCs at all. I mean, we know there was a wizard behind the spell, but yeah, he's we haven't really thought about him or developed him much yet. He's still a big question mark at this point. If we have a floodlight fall up to the surrounding cliffs, he could be down there magical and alive, even under water, and we need his knowledge for something. Underwater? As in what, the trees underwater? Like the actual soul? I'm just trying to vision that. But now I'm thinking, now you've mentioned underwater, I'd love a quest where we go underwater. I think that'd be really cool to go swimming if I can pull that off as a mechanic. Hi Rav, how are you doing? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, if we had the tree cut down, then the hero definitely should be on a quest to find out who and why. Maybe this should connect to the main story arc. Yeah, well, who and why, if we don't know who it was that cut it down, then yes, it would be a sort of mystery then. Who did it, sort of thing. I guess it depends what direction we want to take it. Whether we see that person actually do it with our own eyes in a scene, or whether we return to town and he's cut down and we didn't see it happen, and then it would be like a whodunit thing. So I feel at the moment, though, if we're going to go for this, it would be part of the main story, simply because if it was a branching path, it would kind of suck for the people that wouldn't get the carryable item, you know, because that's so key. That would be significant. Having him be a carryable item for the rest of the game, and like this being that gives you all this knowledge and things we've listed here would be so significant that it almost feels like it needs to be part of the main story arc and not a branching path, because damn, it would suck for those that didn't get him as an item. And these alternate inventory items idea could work also for Father Maple. Have him being even more. Yeah, so we'll talk about Father Maple next stream, because there's a lot to say about that guy. And there was a really interesting idea that I had for Father Maple as well, that we'll talk about next stream. So we'll let you be prepared for that one and wonder. But maybe depending on what you pick at the start determines what he becomes. Like if you pick Archer, he becomes a bow, and Warrior becomes an axe. True. Could be a weapon. I mean, it could be confusing if we make him a weapon and part of what we use in battle. But, you know, whether that could be pulled off visually, I don't know, or whether that's too complex. We might want to make him just like a really insignificant wooden item for just easiness. But it's an interesting idea. In theory, swimming would just involve a different sprite sheet. Maybe be too much art to add though. Yeah, it probably would, especially because we have a custom hero with lots of different assets. It probably would be difficult if we're going to make a ton of different sprite sheets. I mean, I'll just say now, I'll be launching a Patreon at the end of the year alongside the first playable build, and I'm gonna be having some stretch goals on there for Patreons, like if we meet certain requirements, and I'll be willing to add more ambitious stuff to the game like that if I meet certain stretch goals. So something like that, swimming, like obviously it'd be hard to work for me because I'd have to make more sprites for each of the custom heroes, but you know, if I met a significant goal, then I'd be willing to do that, because you know, get a more ambitious and interesting game from it. So just to let you know that if there's anything extra hard work or extra features like that, they'd probably be put as a stretch goal. So that'll be fun. Okay, so, well, you already know I support you on there. Thank you, Ezra. I super appreciate you. You're wonderful. But yeah, just so you know, I've got that idea in mind for if we want to think of some more complicated features, because we've already talked about a few of them. I mean, one of the ideas is at some point for us to talk about certain features that could be added. We've mentioned a potential weather or day or night cycle as one. Another one is NPC daily routines, which I kind of want to do anyway, but I might, like as a stretch goal, say make it a little bit more advanced if we wish. And then that one is potential like swimming sprites or anything like that. There's many things we could add, so I'll be talking about that more towards the end of the year. Okay, so I think we got that down. I think we've got a bit excited, and we sort of, from what I'm gathering with chat, peeps like that idea too. I think there seems like there's definite potential there with it, from what everybody's been saying. So I think that would really work well as the archivist character. Father Maple's a big deal. I mean, he's not Father Maple. The tree of knowing, or wise tree, or tree that knows, is a bigger deal than you first think. If we do decide to go for that route, should we give it a name? Carryable item. Is carryable item even a word? It's got the underline thing. I mean, yeah, that'll do. So, idea carryable item. I think that sums up that idea quite well. And I think I've said everything about this tree now. I've got all the initial thoughts out. So, what's here now is what's there. So, any additional thoughts? I know National had loads of really unique and interesting lore ideas for him. So, I'm going to be adding some of those on here as well. But we've got 3 more characters to talk about next stream. We've got Father Maple, which is this tree's evil version, who you actually do fight as an enemy in the forest. We have Stumpy, which is a tiny little adorable tree stump, who is rumoured to be Father Maple's son. And we've got the fruits. So we'll talk about those next stream. We're going to have another story suggestathon next stream, because we're in a sort of you know, we can't stop now. We're in the middle of idea sharing, and if we have a break now, we'll lose the plot. We'll lose where we are. It's carryable with an eye. Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you, Van, for correcting me. I knew something was wrong with that. I was like, it's not that, is it? There we go. So we're in the flow of this now, so we will have another one on Friday. At some point now, I don't know whether it'll be next week, or at some point we will have a little break from the story suggestathon and go back to some game development stuff, because we'll need to sit on the ideas a bit at some point and let some ideas, because I assume I'll get writer's block at some point and we'll need to have a good think about things. But as things are going right now, we're far too inspired to stop. And we do have to flesh out these particular 3 things. So, there we go. So we'll be back on Friday with more of this, and it'll be awesome to have you join us. And we'll probably I'll let you know when we start. It might not be I might start at 2 p.m. Might try and start on the dot on Friday. See if I can do that, because like I said, I want to try and start early from now on, but it's not early. I've always said I stream at 2 p.m. UK time, but I'm always late. That's what the problem is here, so I'm going to try and be on time. Also folks, vote on our poll if you haven't already. So I'm just giving you that before we leave for the day, and I'm going to put a trivia question in chat as I look for who we're going to raid and pass the love over today. So I'll give you a few seconds to process that we're going to have a trivia. I don't want to just spring it up on you. Sounds good, thank you for the stream. So trivia, there we go. Is everyone ready? Like I said, I'm going to be doing the trivias at the end of stream from now on, while we do still story suggested. Then anyway, there might be a little bit more in the middle of stream on normal days. Oh my goodness, it's like it knew we was talking about the tree. What a coincidence. So points, Vandalia. I love it. I think you're going to be Law Master again this next month, Van. I think you'll be Law Master for a long time. That's my prediction. But I'll be intrigued to see if someone surprises me and becomes Law Master instead. Alright, guys. So, I'm seeing these online. Somebody is... I'm thinking of raiding someone different today, because there's not really many people on who are friendos that we haven't raided recently. So, I'm going to go to a new person. Someone who's playing Bloodborne, which is a great game, by the way. Love a bit of Souls. And Souls games. From software games, should I say. Oops, I think I've got the sound on of the stream in the background there. Right, so let's get the raid ready. I was gifted a sub to this streamer recently, and they have really cool emotes as well. So and she's super nice. So let's go say hi. I had lag, you did? Okay guys, so I'll see you all on Friday. I'm really excited. I think today was a really fun stream. Super fun. You're all awesome. Take care.